The bass finally decided to drop here on Soccer Down here. Little technical difficulties to start the day. Loads of fun. Always just restart everything and reboot everything and work backwards from there, and usually something will fix it. And it did. It's amazing. Welcome. Tuesday Thoughts, February 5th. Yeah. Jason Longshore, John Nelson here with you this morning. Share your Tuesday thoughts with us about the U.S. men's national team match over the weekend, about MLS preseason, about Atlanta United's 7-1 preseason win over Seattle. Whatever you guys want to get into, that's what today's show is all about. Share those thoughts with us on Twitter at Soccer Down Here. What's up, John?
I got nothing.
Pretty much.
I'm kidding. Yeah, it was interesting yesterday to have comments coming from a particular agent, and then Nick Alifi, for those of you who missed it, did a hot drop, and discussed agent speak. And for those of you that didn't have the chance to listen to Nick go for almost 20 solid minutes for an opening monologue in lieu of a soccer over there, down there yesterday, back there, it is must listen. And having to do things yesterday that way, got some things off of our collective chests, and so it's good to be back in the long form format. And I'm glad that I just have this vision of you wearing a white lab coat with hands moving feverishly back behind consoles, and you know how they'll like play the video at like 9 or 10 times speed just to show all of the hand moving that was really quick. Those kinds of things, like the Roadrunner running. That's what I anticipated you doing from basically about 8 o'clock this morning till about 3 minutes ago. And by the way, on a couple of different notes, I guess we should say Happy National Weather Person Day and Happy Chinese New Year.
Okay.
And feliz cumpleaños, sir. Congratulations on another lap around the sun.
Yeah, I survived another year. It's crazy. How many sound engineers do you know who wear a white lab coat, first off?
Zero. I just had this Doc Brown image of you, basically.
Yeah, definitely not that. Just trying to find the right connection with a virtual cable, which is a little bit harder to connect than a real cable, as I've learned.
Yes.
But sometimes you just have to start fresh, and you do, and then you start changing settings, and you find it, and it works, and we're all back together again. It's craziness.
Yay!
Can I do a live hot drop here real quick?
Most certainly. Dude, it's your day.
All right, fair enough. There's a weird thing going on in Cincinnati at the moment. I don't know if you've seen this.
How weird is it?
It's pretty freaking weird. The Cincinnati thing with their stadium. So it was a little difficult. It was a little dicey to get everything together with the stadium in the West End community. And now you have a very contentious issue that required a statement from FC Cincinnati President Jeff Birding. This is in response to the Cincinnati Arts Association draft report on noise impact from the FC Cincinnati privately funded $250 million stadium. So the Cincinnati Arts Association published a draft report basically saying that the stadium would be too loud and it would disrupt their performances because it's the way the stadium's designed. It's not going to keep noise in enough, I guess.
It's open air.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And people yell at matches. That's kind of a known fact. I don't think that's a surprise at this stage. After everything's been approved, after all the votes went down, after all the funding is in place, I don't think all of a sudden the Arts Association realized that, wow, They're going to make noise there. It's very strange. There's a music hall, a very famous music hall nearby. And that is what is resulting in this. It's going to disrupt performances because they do Saturday night performances many times and Saturday night games at FC Cincinnati Stadium, all the stuff. So when I first saw it, I'm like, okay, maybe you can work around this with scheduling. You're only playing 17 home games plus cup and potential playoffs. You can work around all this. Both sides can be adults here and work through this. It shouldn't be that difficult, right? There's
Sure.
one part from the report, and this is absolutely blowing my mind at the moment. So, crowd noise from soccer matches will be readily audible in Springer Auditorium, the report said. The model that they used, and remember, the stadium's not actually built yet, so this is all modeling, and now they might be in white lab coats figuring this part out. I would probably assume that they might be, in however they're modeling with virtual cables and such. But the model predicts that at its peak, FC Cincinnati noise will exceed the background noise in the music hall by as much as 12 decibels. 12 decibels. I don't know how much a decibel sounds like. I don't know that off the top of my head. But when you look that up, it's about the noise of a light bulb. Like, no joke. It's like a light bulb. It's like a pin dropping. It's maybe like natural sound from a desert or woods or whatever. If you've lived anywhere near train tracks, you're used to trains going by. It happens. You just kind of fades into the background. We're arguing about the sound of a light bulb in Cincinnati about this after everything was approved, after everything is getting ready to get underway, and now you have this happening with a stadium design. It's ridiculous. Please don't do this nonsense about everything anymore. It's so frustrating. All for the arts, all for the great music performances at this facility, but doesn't it seem like to you, John, it would be a little bit easier for the music hall, which I'm sure is a very old, famous building that you're not going to do major construction on, but isn't there probably a way to soundproof a music hall versus to keep sound out versus soundproofing an open air stadium? I'm just guessing that one's easier than the other.
See, now when you were going through that, a couple different things. A 30 decibel level is a soft whisper. 20 decibels are what you would hear in the woods at night. And then as you were discussing soundproofing, I just had this vision of all of this egg crate packing on the outside of the new Cincinnati Stadium to make sure that things wouldn't go over the stadium and to the new hall. But I would also think that there could be some coordination of concerts and dates to make sure that there was not a whole lot of overrun when it comes to the sharing of the noise in the neighborhood, both inside and outside. I would think that, that could be a factor. And yes, there is a certain amount of soundproofing that could be done, whether it's with certain kinds of wall or, as for those who go inside recording studios, you see the egg crate on the wall, and that's what they call it, the foam packing, basically. It's referred to as egg crate. And you would think that either reinforcing outside walls with something like that, which is about 2 inches of reinforcement, or coordinating dates, and you wouldn't have this issue. So I'm viewing this right now as one gigantic harumph from the arts community in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. In Birding's release about the issue, he wanted to contrast the virtual models. Maybe they need better virtual cabling like we use to do the show.
Work backwards.
Yeah, the virtual models, he wanted to contrast that with their experience playing actual soccer matches at Nippert Stadium, which is next door to lots of stuff on campus at the University of Cincinnati, like the College Conservatory of Music. They've never had any noise complaints. You're talking about the distance between Nippert and the College Conservatory of Music is actually closer than the FC Cincinnati Stadium will be to the music hall that is concerned about noise. So you've been right next to it. You've partnered with University of Cincinnati to play at Nippert. You've had no noise complaints. There's been no issues about even talking about scheduling concerns because of it. And now you're going to be further away in a smaller stadium that will have more roof and structure to keep noise in. I mean, Nippert is as open air as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have light bulbs that will distract from musical performances, basically. I mean, do we not have better use of time at this point? This is what we're going to complain about? Ay.
I believe someone on the show also usually says "ay Dios mío" a lot.
Yeah, I already said that one this morning, so I wanted to move into a different one. It's silly, and I don't think it's going to end up being an issue. Maybe it actually somehow works out for the good of Cincinnati soccer fans, and they get a little bit more of a roof or a thicker roof covering or whatever that would actually make it louder in their new stadium. Cool, I guess. Thanks, Cincinnati arts community, for complaining. It might actually work. I don't know. Thomas Chewin, and we have smart people who are listening to the show, thankfully. Thomas Chewin, decibels are logarithmic, so the difference between 0 and 12 is extremely minimal. The difference between 100 and 112 is much greater. You'd have to know the background noise to understand that difference they mean. That said, we're still talking about a small difference in background noise. Yeah, it just seems exceedingly silly, and there are probably more important things to be dealing with for the Cincinnati arts community. And I hope they do, and I hope everybody can figure out how to benefit from this stadium in this section of town that did not have something like this before. It was a high school stadium before in this area. This is going to be a little different. There will be a new high school stadium being built as well. It feels like there could be a lot of benefits here, even if extra light bulbs are being turned on.
And the follow-up, the follow-up from Thomas, and he says, I agree there's zero chance this affects anything about the stadium. Maybe they'll just put more egg crate up in the rafters up top. Yeah, there you go. That's what they could do, so they can reinforce, because I don't think it's a true roof structure. I think it's kind of like a vinyl cover of some sort, if I'm not mistaken. And that was one of the complaints was, well, it's not thick enough. It's not going to keep the sound in, yada, yada. Not sure about that, but maybe they add the egg crating in Cincinnati colors on the inside of it to keep the noise in a little bit more into the stadium, and then it's just louder, and then everybody benefits. Okay. Maybe the arts community are soccer fans, and they are doing this to benefit the soccer fans at FC Cincinnati. Well, and since they're the ones that also make noise, maybe they can contribute in trying to come up with a solution to keep the noise internal in the new FC Cincinnati Stadium and not have it drift over that way. Wow, I love that we have people who understand decibels who listen to the show, because I have no idea. Fantastic. Next time we have technical difficulties, Thomas and Robert Swick, I'm just going to call you guys in to fix it, because you seem a lot smarter about this stuff than I am. Robert asks, is this 12 decibels above ambient? Decibels are on a log scale, so a 3 decibel change at 20 decibels is much different than 3 decibels change at 80 decibels. And that I don't know. I will have to do a little more research and get back to you, Robert. But I feel like this is trifling is the word that comes to mind. Nitpicky? Yeah, there's that. Just silly. Just really silly. Jeff Birding, I would recommend whatever you can do to get this to go away quietly, and I think the statement was a very strong play. Make a donation, do a benefit, do a fundraiser, what have you. Coordinate concert dates. That, which it doesn't even sound like that's really an issue, to be honest. So it can all be worked out. It's not a big deal, and it's not going to affect the stadium or anything like that. So it's going to be an interesting year in Cincinnati. I'm still optimistic
about what they've put together on the field. It's like a lot of expansion teams. It is, you feel like maybe one injury in a key spot and you worry a lot. I think the biggest thing that I'm probably looking at is Alan Koch and his transition from USL to MLS. We don't see that a lot. So is he going to be ready to deal with larger egos, more travel, more pressure, those types of things? Is he going to be ready? We'll have to see. He has experience in the Whitecaps organization, so that should help him, although he wasn't the head man there. To me, that's the biggest question about FC Cincinnati. It's not about decibel levels. It's about the coach being prepared for the new challenges. I think the roster is good enough. I think they can compete for a playoff spot. I think the Eastern Conference, outside of the top couple teams, is wide open.
No, and I'm right there with you. I mean, I think that from the beginning, when we started to see all these pieces coming into play for FCC, we were sitting there thinking that in the East, they were going to be right there at that discussion for 7. And I want to see, I want to look at that first quarter. I want to look at the first quarter of the schedule and see where they think they are at that point. But I think, honestly, that they're right there in that discussion for the 7 spot. And, a lot of other folks who have had a lot more experience when it comes to putting teams out there and having franchises are going to be right there with them. And I want to see all the adjustments from the old franchises trying to chase the 7 instead of saying 6, and how the new guy on the block reacts to all of it.
Yeah, I think they have the talent. I think not Osvaldo Alonso, Alan Cruz, the Costa Rican central midfielder who is coming in. I thought he looked pretty good in the friendly this weekend for Costa Rica. I think he's going to be a good addition for Cincinnati. I think they've got the right core now, and it's just who's going to be the special player to put them over the top in the final third, and is the back line going to come together? I think the talent's there. I think it's potentially one of the better back lines and expansion teams put together outside of what Atlanta United did. It's just, is it enough? And is the manager ready? That's really what I keep coming back to for Cincinnati. So I'm excited to see them take the field. I'm excited to see that fan base join the league. I think it's going to kick the overall excitement level around the league up a notch. And I don't know if FC Cincinnati will ever be what we've seen in Atlanta, what we could potentially see in Miami in terms of just overall buzz, what we've seen in LA with LAFC. I don't know if Cincinnati is one of those teams, but I think they can be another club that comes in and lifts the core of the league up. It's in a market that I feel like there is a lot of attention in the market to be had from a local media perspective. We talked about the commitments that FC Cincinnati and their broadcast partners are putting into the TV side. It's big. It's a big deal. You have the Bengals, you have the Reds. Neither one is really lighting anything on fire right now in terms of excitement. This is a big opportunity for FC Cincinnati, and if they can hit the ground running, I think they can be on that level, and it's something we've talked about here a lot with Atlanta United. Being on the same level as the other major sports teams in town has been a huge benefit to Atlanta United. In Cincinnati, I think they can get on that same level really quickly with the Reds and the Bengals. Even with the history of the Reds and even with the power of the NFL with the Bengals, I think they can be right there in terms of column inches in the paper and minutes talked about on sports talk radio and all of those drivers that are very important in capturing the market. I think FC Cincinnati can be right there day one.
No doubt about it. With the Reds not doing all that well in the National League and the Bengals hiring their 10th coach in 35 years just recently, if you come out there with an exciting product, if you're competitive, you get some wins on the board, you're packing the house at Nippert, the vibe that we know has been there from their USL days, that carries over, works its way through. The Bailey is as loud as we know it is and is as full as we know that it can be. You get some early wins on the board, and you're bringing people in there. And then if you keep that competitive product out there and you're fighting for that playoff spot, I think you're right there in the front of the public consciousness. And, bully for FCC if they can piece it together. And like we maintain, pieces are there. Can the coaching be there to match those pieces that we think can get them into a playoff spot and into a playoff chase? I guess we'll say first playoff chase, then possible playoff spot. So, no, I think that getting that first impression out there, taking those first steps, if they're positives, you grab that momentum and you run with it. And I think that FCC really could do some special things.
Now, before we go to break, here's those first steps, because they're not easy. You
Nope.
go to Seattle opening weekend. You come to Atlanta match week 2. Then you host Portland match week 3. You have both MLS Cup finalists from 2018, and you go to Seattle to kick things off. That's not easy. Then you go to New England. Then you host Philadelphia. Then you host Kansas City. First
Nice.
6. Yeah. First 6 for Cincinnati. What's your off-the-cuff prediction for a points total?
5.
I was going to go 6. I think you're looking at, you need to pull off a win in New England, I think, to show where you are. New England, I think, will be improved, but you win that, you show that you're going to be a contender in the East, and you need to beat Philadelphia at home. If you get anything out of the trip to Seattle, the trip to Atlanta, and hosting Portland and Kansas City, the 2 top teams out west, it's a bonus. I think 6 points should be your goal in those first 6 games.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I don't know. I'm not as optimistic about road play. And like I said, I still think that New England one I'm looking at, but you got to make your hay at home. You really do.
You do.
Because and that's just how it's always been.
But it's Portland and Kansas City are your 2 home games in those 6. Kansas City, I think, is the best team in the West. Portland, there's questions, and you wonder how they'll be early because they go on the road till June. So you wonder what things are going to look like for Giovanni Savarese in that early stretch. Maybe it is the home opener. You will have a ton of emotion there. Maybe you can get something there. But the New England game on the road, I think you have to pick the games on the road that you can really get something out of and zero in on them. That's one to me that I think they need to. Because you could easily go into that game with the schedule that they have. You could easily go into that one 0-3.
Yeah.
And the pressure will mount a little bit. So it's going to be a fun story, FC Cincinnati, this year. I think Nashville is really looking at what Cincinnati does this year, and they're going to be taking notes every step of the way because that's, I think, a model for them going forward, what FC Cincinnati does. And Nashville has an announcement coming up February 20th. It's at the Marathon Music Works in downtown Nashville. This is, I guess, it's the next step in the March to MLS is how it's being advertised. Sarah Walsh from FS1, formerly ESPN's hosting it. This is, hopefully we'll get a little more clarification on this because the MLS team right now is separate, the Nashville SC. We don't know if that's going to be the branding going forward into MLS from Nashville. Maybe we'll get an update on that here. But February 20th, 5 o'clock, it's a big announcement for Nashville as they're just over a year away from joining the league. And Cincinnati is a very similar situation to them. So I think they're going to be taking notes, and we'll see how both of them improve the league because I think they both will shore up the middle of the league in a big way. Let's take a break. We'll be back after this. Share your Tuesday thoughts with us on Twitter at Soccer Down Here, whether they're about decibel levels or anything else you have on your mind. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here. February 5th edition of the show. Tuesday Thoughts. We've had some thoughts about Cincinnati and Nashville. Nashville was involved in an interesting kerfluffle. Is that a fair use of kerfluffle? I've always wanted to use that in the spoken word.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, there's always an opportunity to use the word kerfuffle. That's easy.
The word of the day is kerfluffle, and Nashville was involved in one with the Chicago Fire and MLS over the weekend. Andrew Gutman, we talked about it. Chicago Fire Academy player who went on to college, signed with Celtic in Scotland after turning down offers from the Chicago Fire. He was set to be loaned to Nashville SC for the upcoming USL season, and that move was blocked. Blocked by MLS, and everybody's yelling at MLS about this. I'm going to actually stand up for the league here and throw the shade elsewhere because Nashville is coming into the league. They have, I don't know on the business side, I don't know the technicalities of this, but they have MLS players on their roster right now. That's a fact. They have Daniel Rios, Cameron Lancaster are on MLS deals on the Nashville SC roster at the moment. So they are somewhat functioning as an MLS club. In Major League Soccer, Andrew Gutman's rights are part of the Chicago Fire. They made him an offer. He turned it down. He went and signed elsewhere. This, from an MLS perspective, feels like what they have to do to prevent this type of thing from happening in the future to other clubs. Let's take the example of an Atlanta United Academy player who, let's say the next left back is coming up through the academy, and he's like, look, I'm not going to sign with the first team because I'm going to sit behind George Bello and Jose Hernandez and Mikey Ambrose. Why would I sign that deal? I'm going to go sign with the international team. I'm going to go sign with Rangers. Okay? And then Rangers says, well, we're going to loan you to another club in MLS because we don't have a spot for you right now. That would be getting around somebody trading for his rights in the league. Now, you can argue about rights and all that stuff all you want, and I will have that argument with you. It's something that I think the league needs to look at now that things have grown up a bit. But it does feel like the league is stepping in here because of what it could lead to down the road. I'm okay with that part. What I'm not okay with is this even being a complaint from the Chicago Fire right now, because I would assume that the loan is structured as a one-year loan. So he's not going to play against the Chicago Fire because Nashville is playing in the USL this year. It's not going to affect the Chicago Fire in any way, shape, or form. It's not like it's going to affect the playoff picture for the Eastern Conference because he's going to be playing matches. No, he's in a different league. You could maybe request that he doesn't play against or in an Open Cup match with an MLS team involved. All right, it's a reach, it's silly, but fine. I can at least somewhat follow logic there. Playing matches in USL that will have zero effect on the Chicago Fire in 2019, for this player, for the Fire to complain about it, it looks extremely petty. That's what I have the problem with. I get the MLS having to back up their rules here and have to, when you're in that situation, and I want to get your take, John, on how this all went down and from your mind. You have to follow the rules to the letter, not necessarily the spirit in this situation. I get that. I don't like it, but I get MLS having to say to Nashville, hey, this doesn't work. I have the much bigger problem with the Chicago Fire doing this because they are getting no benefit from this loan being blocked. There's nothing they're gaining here. Gutman will find another club to be loaned to. He could be loaned to Louisville City, and it's not a big deal because Chicago has no say over that. There's no MLS connection. He'll be fine. It's not hurting his career. I think that part's been way overblown. It just looks extremely petty from Chicago for no reason. And if I was a Nashville fan and I was, a part of Nashville SC, I'd be really upset with Chicago at this point.
And we've seen that on social media where just some Nashville SC fans have been running smack on Chicago. And for me, the word that you used is the right word for me, my perspective. I think it's just very petty from Chicago to run this kind of a game because there's no competitive disadvantage to Chicago for Nashville to be waiting for Gutman and then have him come in, do his work, figure out what he can be at the competitive levels in the United States, working in the USL. Yeah, I could see your Open Cup argument. Yeah, I mean, I get it. But for me, I understand MLS having to stand up for their rules. I don't understand Chicago running their game. And the word that you used, petty, is the perfect word for me when it comes to all of this. And then, this puts Chicago Fire on everybody's radar about how they respond in situations like this going forward, too. So it's just something that front offices will file away regardless. But I thought that it flat out wasn't cool. And you're not gaining anything out of it other than having somebody playing football in your time zone. That's the only thing that intersects here in my perspective. So not a fan, definitely, of how Chicago decided to run their game, hoping Gutman finds a home in USL with an unaffiliated club. And, I want to see a player like that succeed. I just think that Chicago is stunting his professional growth by running this kind of a game.
Yeah, it just makes no sense. I mean, there's really no benefit for Chicago to do this. So you already, I think, ran the risk of frustrating players in your academy system or just players in your territory who would think about playing for your academy because of the way this was handled. I think initially the talk was they didn't make a good offer to sign Gutman, period. It wasn't a strong enough offer. And he went to Celtic. And as that conversation started, reportedly, there was an increased offer for Gutman before he signed the deal. Still didn't take it. It took too long to get to that point. Now you're blocking him playing in a league that doesn't affect you just because you can. That's where my issue is here. I think a lot of the blame has been on MLS, and I don't think that's where the blame should be. I really don't. I look at this and just wonder why Chicago would even say anything. And if they didn't, and MLS is overreaching here because they can, not a fan at all. Don't like it. I'm assuming that's not the case because why would they? I'm assuming there was a complaint. it doesn't benefit anybody for the situation. Gutman will be loaned elsewhere, and it won't hurt his career, maybe for a couple of weeks. If he gets loaned to another USL team and they play Chicago in the Open Cup, I think Andrew Gutman's going to be a little motivated if that was to happen. Yeah. That would be highly entertaining and must watch if that happens. It's annoying for Celtic just because, you had a deal. Now you've got to find another loan spot for Gutman to play. Probably very frustrating for him, and probably blocks any chance that he might say, you know what, I'm going to go back to MLS and I'm going to sign with Chicago. There's just no win here. That's the thing that I don't get, is there's nothing to benefit from. There's no tangible thing to grab and say, yeah, Chicago did the right thing. I don't know why you do it.
That's the $10 question here. Is like, why are you doing this? Just because he didn't sign with you after being a part of your group for so long, you're being petty? That's the only thing that I can think of. It's like, well, you were, part of us growing up, you leave, and then you don't want to be a part of us coming back. Well, then, that's the only thing I can figure. It's just like, we're going to do this. It's like the kid in the corner.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
No, it makes no sense. It really makes no sense. So
I just had this vision of Nelson Rodriguez standing in a corner, stamping his feet, wearing short shorts and a private school uniform with suspenders and high socks.
Why short shorts?
Or whatever the length, the culottes or whatever private school shorts were. Just the stereotypic 7-year-old private school outfit with the monogrammed shirt, the suspenders, the matching shorts, the high socks, and the dress shoes, just stamping his feet in a corner over this.
Okay, the short shorts, that threw me a little bit. I was confused.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out the length of the shorts with the school uniforms,
Yeah. So Gutman, I'm looking back at some articles from earlier in the preseason when all this started, and at one point, Paul Tenorio said, and this was January 8th, that Chicago was not interested in signing Gutman. They have signed other homegrowns this offseason. They were not interested in signing Gutman. Then they were interested. All the while, they were shopping his homegrown rights around the league, like they did last year when they traded Cam Lindley to Orlando before he signed a homegrown deal. This just adds to the list for me. What is the long-term strategy for the Chicago Fire? And it doesn't feel like they have one in terms of growing the club. It really doesn't. And I don't know what the future holds for them. It's really baffling to me. I don't know. I don't know when to expect the Fire to be relevant again. Because these types of moves don't point you in that direction.
When Nelson Rodriguez and Veljko Paunovic are not there.
And I don't know how much is Veljko Paunovic at this point. I mean, this type of stuff, this is beyond the manager. I thought the team actually looked pretty good at the end of the season. I'm going to give Veljko a lot of credit for that, because you see teams at the end of a season where they're struggling.
They're getting healthy too.
Yeah, well, that's part of it, but they didn't mail it in, and that's the important thing for me about Paunovic is they didn't mail in those last few performances. They gave Atlanta a difficult match in October. They played hard at the end of the season. Okay, that to me that looks like the manager still, his voice is still being heard by the players, even in a bad season. That deserves respect. So I think that part's okay. It's the supporters group drama. It's the fact that you weren't interested in signing this player who was the top college player last season. Glasgow Celtic is interested, and they sign him. But you're not interested, then you are interested with a bad offer, then you try to change it. Then now it just looks like you're mad that he didn't sign with you, and you're using whatever power you have to make life more difficult for him. Why are you even wasting your time worrying about it? You should be looking at upgrading your roster. You should be looking at rebuilding relationships with the fans. You should be looking at I don't know, becoming relevant in Chicago and the surrounding area because nobody talks about the fire there. These are
Except
the important things. Yeah, that might actually be a positive if they were talking about it. But I don't even know if they're doing that. That's the problem, even the negative stuff isn't getting talked about. It's like they don't exist in some ways.
And that's worse.
Okay. Yeah, that's not okay in Chicago. It's too good of a market that has been too good for this league in the past to be in the situation it's in. It has to start changing. This is a little thing in it. But this is another thing where you just wonder, what are they trying to become in Chicago? I don't know. Still confused by the Chicago Fire on a regular basis. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Fire and Nashville and Gutman and what will happen with this. Tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. Let us know what you're thinking. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Hour number 1, Soccer Down Here, February 5th edition. Jason Longshore, John Nelson here with you this morning. Tofka TLC, not a fan of Nelson Rodriguez. Pretty two-faced about his operation of the Fire. He tries to come off as a humble, approachable, and caring guy, but everything I see is pretty awful from him. I'm ready to see him fired. Man, Tofka, that's harsh. Not completely arguing with you, just wow. Tofka then says, and this is a good question I want to get your thoughts on, John. The league needs Chicago to perform better both on and off the field, as it is a major market and original club. Do we hope they perform well, or should we hope they continue to perform poorly to force a major front office change? Tofka supports the latter.
I'm down with the notion of the latter. I know it's a major market, and you want the former. But because of the individuals that could be creating the former, you don't know if it's a one-off or if it's something that could be cyclical, and it's like they're good, they're bad, they're good, they're bad, they're good, they're bad. And in the break, I said to you, for media coverage, you either want to be very good or very bad because you're getting attention one way or the other. You don't want to be mediocre. You don't want to give people a reason not to hang out with you. And right now, Chicago is doing things off the pitch to render themselves mediocre at best, so no one will want to do things in and around who you are. The supporters group stuff off the pitch, that's an issue. Trying to figure out what you're going to do as a club, that's an issue. Waiting for Gutman is an issue. All of this is off the pitch.
You just wanted to keep using waiting for Gutman, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Hey, early in the morning, you can come up with something like that. You got to hang with it.
No,
But,
definitely. No, I respect it.
So for me, because of everything that has gone wrong, that seem to be front office issues, I would want them to have a front office change. And I think the only way for that to happen, to get this sea change, to wipe all of this stuff out, is for them to do poorly so you can get that change. But you get to sit there and it's like, okay, if they're not healthy and they do poorly, do you give them another year or do you just make a clean cut? And that's what has to be monitored here. But I would say the latter. I'm with Tafka.
I want to take this from a philosophical perspective first. We've lots of great questions on Tuesday Thoughts, so we're going to be getting into lots of big picture MLS discussion in hour number 2. Let's finish off the Chicago talk because I don't think we're going to get there any more about Chicago as we start talking about challengers and who's looking good this season. The league needs Chicago to perform better both on and off the field.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to change the wording there if this was my statement. I would say the league wants Chicago to perform better both on and off the field. I don't think it's a need. I really don't. I look at a comparison like the New York Knicks in the NBA. The NBA has been growing and growing and growing, and it's been really interesting to watch them from a business perspective in the last maybe 20 years, maybe since Michael Jordan retired. You could look at it from that perspective. Well, no, that's the Knicks part of it, but let's draw the parallels here just a second. So when Michael Jordan retired in the NBA, and we can probably leave the Washington Wizards part out of it, that just prolonged things. You had focused so much on that superstar that it did throw the league a little bit, and it felt like there was a dip. You had others coming. You had Kobe Bryant. You had Shaquille O'Neal. You had then LeBron James, and now you have Steph Curry and James Harden and so many stars around the league. The league feels like it is growing steadily and is talked about more and more and more, and the business numbers are ridiculous. The TV deals are ridiculous. They have done all that with the Knicks, who are one of their, or I don't know if they're original. I think they are original in the NBA, actually. Flagship franchises that has been a dumpster fire for a long time. They've been able to grow without the Knicks driving it. Now, I think the NBA would love to see the Knicks be relevant and competitive in the Eastern Conference. I'll bet you there were a lot of people in the league office with fingers crossed that LeBron James would go there. And every major superstar that comes up that would move the needle in New York, it's like, please go to New York. Please put on a Knicks jersey. Please, please, please. And it doesn't happen. I kind of look at the Fire the same way. It'd be a huge benefit for the league if they were big and relevant like they were in the earlier days. They're not right now. I don't think it hurts the league. I think it makes, it maybe puts a little more pressure on your Cincinnatis and your Nashvilles coming in and your Minnesotas to lift up the middle of the league, and I feel like that's happening. If Chicago, if the New York teams, if LA teams, and Miami is going to be in this category as well, if they are big and relevant and strong and performing well at the ticket gate, performing well on local TV and radio, performing well on the field, the league is better for it. I don't think you can really argue that, just the way sports and business is structured. But I think the league is doing well without it, and I think they'll continue to. I don't think it's going to hurt the league. I think the Fire being strong would be a big bonus. Just like if the Knicks could ever figure it out, it'd be a big bonus for the NBA. It's an interesting parallel because I look at how MLS and the NBA have both grown, and I think they have a lot to learn from one another. I think the NBA can look at what's going on with soccer in this country and benefit from it. And I think they're starting to be honest, in a lot of ways. I think MLS can look at how the NBA has grown and what they're doing and can benefit from it. I think what the NBA's done in the digital space is outstanding. And the stuff that they do with just the simple things, like highlight clips getting, out on social media immediately whenever there's a great move, whenever there's a great dunk, whenever there's a great play. It's out there immediately. It goes viral. Boom. The shows around it, whether they're NBA produced or from major media partners, it's massive. I think MLS can look at that blueprint and grow from it and continue the growth that the league has been on. I really look down the road, and it might be 50 years down the road. I look at Major League Soccer and the NBA as the two major professional sports leagues in the United States. I really think they can be that and complement one another in a lot of ways and be the dominant drivers, probably way down the road. But I look at what's going on. We've talked about it before with Major League Baseball and the NFL and concussions and everything going on there. I think both of those leagues are going to decline. We just don't know how fast. And it looks like the NBA and Major League Soccer are the two in the United States that can really benefit. So I hope they're both looking at one another, and I hope they're trying to learn from one another. And I hope MLS looks at what's going on with Chicago and sees that, hey, it's created an opportunity for other teams and other markets to get that national spotlight. When the Fire get it together, everybody will benefit from it. But it's not, we're gonna take this as an opportunity right now. And I think that's something the NBA's done with the Knicks being so bad for so long.
So you would say that from an NBA perspective, it's the Knicks. Say from the NFL, it would be Giants, Redskins, Raiders, where you have the development of a New Orleans. You have...
See, the NFL, the Giants have won Super Bowls in somewhat recent history, far more recent than the Knicks.
But it sucked recently.
Yeah, very short term, and that's going to happen. There's nothing you can do about that. The Raiders said it's not a big enough market, and the Redskins, they would maybe be the closest one to it, but it's created other opportunities. I think you're right, and it's shown that when the flagships in the major cities are big and good, it's great for the league. It's great for attention. It's not a necessity, and that's where I think MLS can learn from what's happened with other leagues. And it's a balance of how much pressure are you going to put, because MLS is structured differently. You do have the ability to put a little more pressure on teams because of the single entity structure. Are you going to put pressure on Chicago and the ownership to get it right? I don't think you have to just yet, but I think you're definitely keeping a close eye on what's going on. Because it's moved for me past, okay, this is a bad team that can't figure it out on the field, to wait a minute, this is a little bit more of a black eye for everybody. Let's figure out what's going on here and see if we can fix it. We'll see. It's an interesting story with Chicago because it's a big team, it's a big market. There's a lot of potential if they get it right. I think things can flip really fast. They're just creating more baggage to flip it. And the heavier that baggage gets, the longer it can take to flip it. And that's going to be the challenge for Nelson Rodriguez and Veljko Paunovic and Bastian Schweinsteiger while he's there, because there's a lot of things they're fighting uphill against, and some of them of their own making, at least on the front office side, in my opinion. So we'll keep an eye on Chicago, but we're going to get into the rest of the league as we go today. A lot of questions about New York City, some questions about Nashville as well. We'll get into all that as we go. One more segment, hour number 1, after this.
Today's show is presented by ATLUTD Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Wrapping up hour number 1 on Soccer Down here. Tuesday Thoughts edition of the show. Skyway Willie chiming in. Thanks for listening, Willie. Longtime Fire fan, still enduring. I've watched Gutman since the academy, and he has all the tools. He just needed some time to develop against better competition than NCAA. I still pick him to be on the next U.S. World Cup squad. That's bold. And when you have a player like that, why are you not getting him on a homegrown deal? He's a left back. How many times do we talk about left backs being premium? That position is always at a premium. This is a top left back who is a national team candidate down the road, maybe really short road, and you're not getting him on a deal. At one point, according to Paul Tenorio, who has covered the Fire pretty closely throughout his career, according to Paul, you were not even interested in signing him in January. What in the world are you doing when you have that player coming through your academy and then you let him go? And then you do this nonsense. This nonsense isn't even that important in the long run for Chicago. Chicago not signing Gutman early, not signing him after his senior season, not having these conversations is shocking, especially when your left back, Brandon Vincent, who was in the national team picture, retired at 24, 25 years old. You needed a left back. You had the best player in college last season that you could sign to a homegrown deal. You just had to cut the check. And it sounds like either you weren't interested or when you did get interested, you didn't cut a valuable enough check to get his attention. That's the biggest problem here is this guy, it wasn't even like going out to scout somebody. He was right there, and you didn't get it done. You have to worry about that if you're a Fire fan. I hate it for Skyway Willie and the rest of the Chicago Fire fans because Chicago's a great soccer town. We've seen it before. But right now, it's hard to show up. It's hard to be that fan for that team right now. And that's something that I think we always get into in this country, especially that, if you're a soccer fan, you are obligated to go support your local team. Not when they're doing everything possible to turn you away. I don't blame any Chicago fans who aren't turning out right now. It's sad. They'll be back immediately when it's a good product because they're great soccer fans. But right now, it's really difficult. We're going to take a break, come back, reset, more Tuesday Thoughts after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Hour number 2, SDH, February 5th, Tuesday Thoughts edition of the show. Jason Longshore, John Nelson with you this morning. Tomorrow, we will not have a normal show because I will be in a plane. Mike Conti and I are heading to call the Atlanta United Club Tijuana preseason friendly tomorrow. You can watch on ATLUTD.com/live. I'm sure there'll be links on all the social media as well. It's going to be an interesting call because it's going to be a similar format as the Seattle game. So 120 minutes, 4 30-minute segments. It is very preseason. That's why in my hot drop yesterday, I just wanted to caution, don't get too worked up about the 7-1 result over Seattle from the weekend. It's great that you're scoring goals. Seattle's in a different place completely in the way they approach that game than where Atlanta is. Tijuana will be the same. Tijuana has a Copa MX game tomorrow night as well. They are still in a spot that they could move out of the group stage. The Mexican Cup is completely different than Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. It's group play. You're playing 2 other teams home and away, so you're playing 4 games. In Tijuana's case, Pachuca's in their group, as is Atlante from the second division. Right now, Tijuana's played 2 games. They're in last place in the group, but they play each of the teams again. They have a chance to go through. They've started to turn it around a little bit in the league, but I would assume that it will be a mostly first-choice group in the Cup match tomorrow. So the team facing Atlanta United will be second choice and some of their U20s who are coming through to get playing time, maybe even some of their U17s. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this and when you're looking at the results for everything. But it's going to be great to get to see this because we didn't get a chance to see Seattle outside of some highlights. I'm excited to see some of the guys we haven't seen yet or we haven't seen much of with this group. The 2 draft picks, Anderson Asaidu and Amir Bashti, played, I don't know how much. Asaidu started. Bashti came in as a substitute. Want to see them. Want to see if they fit. Want to see if they're going to fit more as an Atlanta United 2 player or if they can push for first-team playing time. It's definitely possible. I think in Asaidu's case, it's absolutely possible. He was the Combine MVP talking to people who know the game really, really well. They love this guy. He's just smaller than your typical holding midfielder. Does that mean maybe he sees some time as a right back? It's possible. It's an opportunity where there's some time here for this first team, especially with Franco Escobar injured. Maybe it's a way for him to get more time. Maybe it's something he'll do in USL as well. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see the academy guys, the homegrown guys. Kendall Edwards played in this match. He was the only academy player who played against Seattle. I want to see Patrick Okonkwo, Gordon Wild, who are back from their loan with Charleston Battery. I'm excited to just see glimpses of what this team could look like against Herediano on February 21st.
And for me, I'm looking for the little villages. I'm looking for connections. I want to see
the little societies.
Little societies. Thank you. I want to see the little societies. I want to see them continue to develop. I want to see the youngins I want to see Double A and how he continues to grow, and the academy guys coming in. And I'm looking. I really am spot shadowing a Sayduk because of everything that he has said. Yes, his story is amazing, and he's a great kid, and he's ready to contribute, and he's throwing everything he can into it. And having an Atlanta United version of N'Golo Kante and just chasing after everything. So for me, I think that he's going to be my perpetual spot shadow for the 2019 season. But, when you're looking at 4 quarters, I just, when you mentioned preseason and spring training, it just popped into my head the Skip, Ernie, and Pete and Don preseason games that used to be on TBS that you'd have at 1:05 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. That kind of feel. So that's what I'm looking forward to, also from a broadcast perspective, from you and Mike.
Yeah, it's very possible it has that kind of feel because we have no idea.
Looking forward to hearing the two of you make the call down there.
Oh, not bad. Well, we have no idea who Club Tijuana is going to have on the field, have available. We don't know how many triple-digit numbers we're going to see from Club Tijuana.
See?
If we see numbers, which is also a possibility.
That's true. Dark numbers on dark kits. That's never fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It'll be fun just to get back at it though. If I can talk, depending on travel schedule, and just everything going on, if I can talk Mike into doing a somewhat abbreviated SDH on the road, we might do that. It's there and back. We'll be back on a normal schedule on Thursday, so no worries about Thursday's show. But for tomorrow, yeah, it'll be different. We'll have something from me and Mike, even if it's not all that long. We'll have something on the SDH network ahead of times, and yeah, we're preparing everything for 2019 as we get closer and closer to the season. You'll be hearing a lot more of Mike Conti on SDH, so you have that to look forward to.
Yay!
Yeah, he likes us. He wants to hang out.
Staff meteorologist, he better.
He might need a new title.
Well, let's see. Director. Well, I'm trying to figure out what that new title would be.
We'll come up with it. We'll work on it. Garlic Bread Warlord is doing virtual hot drops about ticket prices for the U.S. men's national team. We'll save that one, or we might let Nick go in on that on a hot drop on his own.
Yeah, he is.
Trains.
Mm-hmm.
Trains with a Z. Not feeling the new New York City designated player. Isn't this just another Maxi? Where's their striker? It's a really good question. I thought Bobby Warshaw had a great piece over at MLSsoccer.com breaking down their new signing. It's a big money signing. I mean, they're throwing some cash at this in Alexandru Mitria, Romanian international. Stam Stejkal reported that this was an $8.5 million transfer fee. Salary is going to be less than $1 million, but obviously that's a designated player. He's played mostly on the left wing at his club. You've got a lot of potential wingers and attacking midfielders with NYC, and you don't have a striker. I don't think you I think you literally don't have a striker. I think that's where we're at. Not even
strikerless.
You don't have a striker on your roster. So how are you gonna do this? I don't know. One thing that is out there, and it's a rumor, and we'll see if it comes off. There is a striker being linked to New York City FC, Spanish striker named Carlitos, 28 years old, valued at €2 million on Transfermarkt. He is currently playing at Legia Warsaw in Poland. Kind of a weird spot for a Spanish striker to end up, but it happens. 8 goals in 20 league matches this season, 11 goals in all competitions. Not bad. He has some Champions League and Europa League qualifying experience this season. He was previously, it's been smaller Spanish clubs. He was with Villarreal's B team before going to to Wisla Krakow, and then he moved for €3 million. Or no, he was valued at €3 million. Sorry, he moved for €450,000 to Legia Warsaw. So what would that number be like? I don't know. That's one of the questions about Mitria. He was brought in to Craiova, the club he's at Romania before coming to NYC, brought in for less than $1 million last season, like last year at this time. And it goes from roughly $1 million to 8.5 in a year in Romania. Wow. That's some big development going on in the Romanian league, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to make of that.
I don't either. I looked at all these numbers, and I'm going, okay, from the Romanian league coming over here, 8.5. To me, I'd love to know where the value is. And, hey, there are 11 billion more people on this planet who know about football player evaluation than I do, but the numbers and what we associate with, league appropriate talent, this was not one of those matches that I had.
No, it just didn't really make a lot of sense. You don't have a striker on the roster right now at all in New York. That is just not a thing. Mitria's birthday is coming up, so it's a pretty happy birthday for him.
Oh, congratulations.
That's a lot of cash. He played on the wing at Craiova. He's also played as a 10. Maxi Morales can play as a 10. I'm baffled by the money. I'm really
straight
thrown
Liu,
by
homie.
that money. Okay, but let's forget that. You got the money to spend. All right, you're New York City. What do you look like on opening day with Jonathan Lewis, who did very well for the national team in his minutes, but can't seem to get on the field for Dome Tarrant? It's one player. Ismail Tajori-Shradi, a very good first season in this league. Jesus Medina, still room to grow. I think he will be a good player in this league. Just hasn't been there for him just yet. You brought in Valentin Castellanos late in the season. Big expectations for him to do more. Young Argentine player. Maxi Morales, great veteran piece. Mitria, is he going to come off the left side? Is he going to play centrally? Is he going to play as a false 9? Does Maxi Morales play as a false 9? Does Tajori-Shradi go inside to play as a forward? He likes to cut in from the wing. I don't know what New York City does in the attack. I really don't. And then you look past that. You look behind it. Okay, the holding midfield. Alexander Ring, one of the most underrated players in the league in my book. Who's going to pair with him to replace Yangel Herrera? Is it Keaton Parks? Is it Juan Pablo Torres? Does James Sands, the young homegrown who has been very impressive, is it him? Is it Ebenezer Afori? You have so many central midfielders with this team. I don't know how you manage it. Because you didn't bring Parks over here on loan from Benfica to ride the bench. Sands needs games. You don't have a USL affiliate. Does he go back out on loan? He was at Louisville City last season. I don't know. I don't know how the pieces fit together for NYC right now. Backline, okay, it's pretty good. You've got Matarrita and Ben Sweat on the left side. You've got Tinnerholm on the right. You bring back Callens and Chanot. You have Sebastian Ibiaga as well. That's a good backline. Not a ton of depth in it, but it's a good backline. You have Sean Johnson in goal. Defensively, should be okay. Who's going to score the goals, and how are you going to fit these pieces together? I'm going to be watching NYC in the early stages of the season to try to figure out what they're going to be in 2019, because I don't know yet.
And really the first image that popped into my head is Reverend Jim from Taxi.
Okay. Explain.
Just you sit there. Hockey dock. Just throw your hands up in the air and go, okay, this makes no sense, and I'd love to see it. So when you put it out there, you show me what you're thinking, because I have no idea.
Colonel is checking us on Anderson Asadu or Asayadu and his pronunciation. UCLA had it as Asadu, and we'll get the proper one. It's a little subtle in Asayadu, and I believe that's the difference here. We'll get the proper one. We'll get you checked out, Colonel. But UCLA had it as Asayadu, so I'm blaming them. I'm pointing the finger at UCLA. Yes, UCLA Bruins. I'm pointing the finger at you if we are wrong in this case. Mike Conti and I had this conversation on draft day, and that was where we went to.
You blamed UCLA on draft day?
Yes, because that's how they said his name was pronounced. He played there.
Yes.
They should know.
And that usually, I mean, for me, when you're doing interviews and you don't know how to pronounce a person's name, I always go to that person. I sit there and say, okay, when your mom's mad at you, how does she pronounce your name?
Well, we haven't had that chance yet.
No, but what I'm saying is that's just always my fail-safe. But you always go by those who've been there before you. But when you're finally in a situation with an individual, you said, okay, when your mom's mad, how does she pronounce your name? Because, that's when they go full name on you.
Well, so yeah, that's a whole different conversation. Yeah, if you're going full name, then you're going into the middle name, and we're not going there. So that's different. There is an announcer who calls the games in Spanish who calls people by their full name and middle name, and it's awesome. I love it.
I did not know this.
Yeah, I can't remember who it is on Univision Deportes, but yeah, he will go like complete full middle name, everything. He's great.
Wow.
I'm a fan.
That's nice.
Yes, I'm a big fan. Riley Miletsky asks about NYC. He says, what about playing Jonathan Lewis as a striker? He has a little experience playing up top. I don't like it. I think you lose what makes him special. I'd rather see him out wide. I think if you do any of that in a traditional sense, you're not thinking false nine, I would probably go to Jory Schrade as the 9, more so than a Lewis or a Medina. I think you're probably looking with the pieces you have now, if you don't go get a striker, I think you're probably looking more to false 9 with either Morales or Mitria as that, maybe Jesus Medina. That's a lot of players right now are not all going to start for this team. It's a lot of players in the similar positions in Morales, Mitria, to Jory Schrade, Lewis. I don't know how you fit them all together. And that's the question for Dome Tarrant. How are you going to score goals? And how are you going to keep everybody happy with playing time with this group? Because you've got a lot of people in similar spots. It's going to be very interesting. Before we go to break, let's get this question from Shiva real quick. Do you see a new contract popping up for LGP and Gressel this year? We don't know if Gressel's in the last year of his contract. It's a safe assumption just based off when he came into the league and coming out of the Super Draft. LGP told Doug Robertson that he is going into the last year of his contract. Don't know if there is an option after this to extend it, and that would be the question. What do you think, John? New contracts for LGP and Gressel this year. Do you expect them?
I would say for LGP, yes. And I would see a negotiation with Gressel to kind of get things moving. But I would say LGP over Gressel would be the way that I would view it. It's
tricky just because we don't know the situations. We don't know what the ask would be. We talked about it with LGP when the Boca Juniors rumors popped up. You've got room to give him a raise, not make him a designated player, still use TAM. You've got a lot of room there for him. I think it's a fairly easy deal to get done if he wants to return. So I think you want to do that. Gressel's a little trickier because, one, we want to see where he fits in with Frank DeBoer's system. You know, how is he seen? Right. Is he still a utility guy? Is he a right winger? Is he a central midfielder? Is he a right back? Is he a right wing back in a 3-5-2? There's still a question there. And you would be talking about his production. You're talking about a much bigger raise and into a different class of player potentially. He's definitely like TAM worthy based off the numbers he's put up in his first 2 years in this league. Do you have the TAM or GAM to make that work to buy him down? Because you're going to be bumping up against that maximum budget charge with Gressel with the performances he's put in, potentially, in terms of the contract number. So it might be just a different conversation with that. And these are the things that we've talked about. We don't know how much TAM you have to work with. There's a lot of things that are unclear, so it's hard to answer. I think the LGP one is probably more straightforward. The Gressel one's a little more complicated with more moving parts. So I think if both perform the way that we have seen them, I could see new contracts popping up for both. I just think it's a little trickier with Gressel because of what a new contract and a raise could mean in terms of how he fits on the roster. Just a little bit more of a challenge. Let's go to break. We'll get into more of your questions. Montreal Impact up next on the agenda. Joey Saputo had some interesting things to say. I mean, a little bit of playing the media game from Saputo, talking about losses the team has had, and there's a upcoming negotiation that he is about to take on. But some interesting peeks at the business side of MLS. We'll get into that, and we'll talk about Montreal on the field in 2019 after this.
Today's show is presented by ATLUTD Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, February 5th edition of the show. Jason Longshore, John Nelson back with you. Go ahead.
For those that don't know, the Soccer for Good OG, Jill Robbins, says that everybody's supposed to buy you a Quilmes and a Choripan today. Please explain.
And you had no idea what either one was?
Nope.
I'm not surprised. You're probably not the only one on this one. So there was a restaurant, and sadly it is in the past tense because it no longer exists, in Washington, D.C., in Adams Morgan. It's called the Roomba Cafe. And I was up there with Ashley back in 2010, and we stayed at an Airbnb in the Adams Morgan area and found this restaurant and ate there like 3 or 4 times while we were there for a week because it was that good. It was like a South American restaurant, heavily Argentine influenced. And on their brunch menu, they had choripan. And choripan is, I mean, the closest thing to compare it to, it's like a hot dog here in that it is what you get at a game or on the way to a game. Street vendors will sell it. It's the chorizo, like link, not the Mexican crumbly chorizo, on a bun, and it's awesome, and it's really good. And the Roomba Cafe had a great one, and they also had Quilmes beer, Argentine essentially they're Budweiser. So it was always cool to go to the Roomba Cafe, and every time that we went, and we used to go with Soccer in the Streets to D.C., usually once a year, for the Urban Soccer Symposium or meetings with the U.S. Soccer Foundation, I would always drag the group to the Roomba Cafe, no matter when we arrived, how we arrived, what time, whatever was going on. We were going to have lunch at the Roomba Cafe so I could have a choripan and a kilmes. That was that was part of the trip. It was non-negotiable. So, one, I was very sad to see that the Roomba Cafe closed, I think, at the end of last year. It's family-run business, and sounded like the family wanted to do something else. So, I'm going to miss it. Didn't get to go when we were in D.C. for the match last season. Won't get to go this season. I need to see if there's another place that I can get a choripan and a kilmes in D.C. because you can't get kilmes in Atlanta. It's annoying.
No, you can't.
It's just no. They don't. It's not distributed in Georgia. It's an Argentine beer, and it's not distributed by any of the distributors in the state of Georgia. One time though, and it was really funny because I thought that things had changed and somebody had picked it up. One time, Buddies at the corner of North Highland and North Avenue in Atlanta had a 6-pack of kilmes. They had one 6-pack. It had to have been an accident. It had to have gotten on the wrong truck or something. They see it and they're like, "What? What?" Buddies is a convenience store. It's not a liquor store. So they're like, "What? What is this?" And they put it out for sale. And I bought it and was all excited to see it and hoping to see it more. Never happened again, and that was 6 years ago or something. So yeah, it's not distributed by any of the Georgia beer distributors. It's not an unbelievable beer that you're going to have imported from Argentina. It is essentially their Budweiser, their Coors Light, or their basic lager. It's just kind of fun to have a choripan and a kilmes from time to time, and can't do that. I don't know if there's anywhere in Atlanta that has a good choripan. I haven't had a choripan in Atlanta.
There's your QOD right there.
There's not a ton of true Argentine restaurants in Atlanta. And most of the ones that go more towards the steakhouse variety. So I'll have to look into this, but I have not seen one. I've not heard about one. No one has alerted me to this. So if anybody knows about good choripan in Atlanta, at Longshoe on Twitter, please. I would like to know that.
It looks like there might be some places near Atlantic Station.
I don't know about that.
But then they just said no results for it. So it's like they give you a list of possible places, and then they're like, no, there's no choripan near here.
Yeah, I don't know about that. John, I don't know if I'm going to trust your Google search for choripan in Atlanta.
Hey.
I don't know if you are the choripan person to follow here.
No. I would definitely not be either the choripan or the kilmes person to follow, considering that I do not. I leave the libations to other folks.
Yes, I'm going to trust the experts. I'll trust La Doce on this one if they can help me out.
See, there it is. La Doce. Where can a man get choripan and a kilmes? That's your QOD.
Gabby from La Doce, I think, would know where to get a good choripan. I don't think you can get kilmes. You're going to have to pull off Smokey and the Bandit to get kilmes into Atlanta. It seems like, because there's no distributor here. It's like
in 18 hours.
In the day. I don't know where you can get it. I know you can get it in D.C. That's it. That's the closest place I know of. I don't know if there is a hankering for kilmes in Mississippi or Alabama. I'm going to assume not.
When you go up to D.C., you find kilmes, you bring it back.
I'm flying?
Yeah.
I'm not driving a black Trans Am.
No. And
I don't have Fred sitting, shotgun with me in an 18-wheeler either. So
no. See, but Smokey and the Bandit 2 was so easy. If they had just followed the idea of going to Boston in 18 hours to get clam chowder.
Yeah, I would have been in on that. They could have.
Big Enos and Little Enos didn't say how.
Go
to Hartsfield, hop on a plane, fly, get it, come back, done.
Yeah, it's not as much fun. And Hartsfield was a little bit different in those days too. But yeah, if they had just wanted to keep following that route for the Smokey and the Bandits, they could have just kept making them every year and just keep printing money. They did pretty well, though. I mean, they did pretty well for themselves. You can't really complain too much.
Except for the third one.
That was bad. Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of crazy stories about that one. That might need a Smokey and the Bandit down here retrospective at 4 in the morning one morning. Might have to go into that because I've read some crazy stories about the third one, and proposals for what it was supposed to be and what it turned into were very different. Anyway, now that we've lost everybody completely, and they're wondering about Kilmus and Choripan and Smokey and the Bandit and how all that tied together, because I don't really know either. Let's talk about the Montreal Impact. You don't have to smuggle poutine anywhere in Montreal. We know that much. They have the poutineries all over town, and I think we're going to have to try a different poutinery when we go to Montreal this year for our post-match meal, myself and Mike Conti. But Joey Saputo had some interesting things to say in an article over at the CBC in Canada. Said he's losing $11 million a year with the Impact, and that is consistent from what was said late last season as well. Quote, I never thought that when we entered MLS, the league would be where it is today in 2018 with $200 million stadiums. It's growing faster than we expected, and we need to adjust. True statements, completely valid statements from Joey Saputo. Couple things behind the scenes on the business side that are very interesting to me because we don't get this glimpse into things with the league a ton. So Montreal tickets are $10 per ticket lower than the league average, but the team still ranked 18th out of 23 in attendance. Group sales were a big part of getting to 18th, and those are even more discounted. The league average is 13,500 season tickets per team. Montreal has 9,000. Saputo says that getting Montreal to the league average in ticket price and in season ticket holders and in attendance, getting to those league averages would take care of a large chunk of that $11 million yearly operating deficit. None of that's crazy numbers to me. I mean, I think when Saputo said initially that they were losing $11 million a year, I saw people sound alarm bells, and I saw people freaking out about it a little bit. Yeah, you're going to need to get $10 per ticket on average more. You're going to need to sell another 4,500 season tickets, and you're going to need to increase your attendance to the league average. None of those are easy, but they're not huge, gigantic, scary things either, I think.
No, and you look at Stade Saputo itself, capacity of 20,801. That's what it's listed at right now. And every owner, when it comes to a facility that is theirs, even though Saputo family put in 7.5, financed it 25 years, renovated, the Quebec government puts in money. Every owner wants to look at profit maximization. And if there's a way that you can expand a stadium to help that to where you can, if demand is there in your mind, where you can try to make the stadium a little bigger, do the private boxes, all of this I understand. But the key for me in this is not overstating or overthinking in your own mind what you think the expansion needs to be to compete to make up for that 8-figure shortfall. And that's what makes me wary. I understand the design, I understand the demand, I understand where you're going, but what is it they say when you're eating? Your eyes are bigger than your stomach. That's my concern when it comes to Montreal.
See, I don't have that concern because I think Saputo is very realistic about it. And again, $11 million a year is what they're losing. How much was Miguel Almiron sold for? I'm trying to remember.
2.5 times that.
Yeah, it was a lot. These things can change pretty quickly. The business metrics that Saputo is trying to improve upon all have room to improve in realistic ways. I think if this team becomes a contender consistently, you're able to charge more money. Your attendance goes up. your season tickets go up. All those are important. One thing, and we'll get into the stadium part in a second, because I think that's why this conversation is happening. But one very, very interesting thing that jumped out to me when I read this is a couple things Saputo said about the player side of it with Montreal. One, he said they're not going to start spending less on salaries. He said there might be some markets where they don't have to spend a lot of money on players and they can get away with it. In Montreal, that will never work. We know that. They're the 7th highest spending team in MLS on salaries, and he wants to stay in the top tier of the league in salary. But he added that they need to be smart about where they spend their money. Remember Didier Drogba. Montreal 2015 was the year he played in Montreal. Montreal Impact's worst financial year since joining Major League Soccer. They lost $15 million. So they lost $4 million more than their average. That was the worst year they've had. That was when Didier Drogba was there. It didn't affect season ticket sales. It didn't affect other parts of the bottom line, according to Saputo. When fans and media and clubs, because all of them do it in different ways and different reasons, when they trumpet, just go sign that big-name foreign player, and you're talking to Drogba, you could have put Gerrard, you could have put Lampard, you could have put Pirlo, you could have put other guys like that, the big-name, older player, and it's going to change everything. It doesn't necessarily change everything. Jury's still out on Wayne Rooney in D.C., but I think that one was the right time, the right situation. You had a new stadium opening up too. That factored into it. And even that's not a 100% guarantee to completely change everything for D.C. United. But you had a new era starting, and that was a little different to me. Montreal getting Didier Drogba in resulted in their worst financial year since joining the league. That says a lot, I think, about where this league is and where it can go. It's not about those players anymore. But let's get to the real crux of it, what Joey Saputo is working on. He is hoping to make a $60 million investment into Stade Saputo to remake the North End stands with luxury boxes. Movie says is essential to assuring the team's long-term viability in growing MLS, or in the growing MLS. The reason he's talking like he is, other than the fact it sounds like it's true, is he's trying to negotiate a break on the local taxes, and he's spoken to the mayor about it. He's not going to come in and trumpet where the Montreal Impact are in all of the good side of the business when he's trying to get a tax break. I mean, that's just business. That's how it goes. He does make a point that the land, which is owned by the government, although they don't own the stadium or the training facility that the Impact have, it wasn't bringing in tax revenue before building Stade Saputo in the training facility. So now he's paying tax revenue. He's trying to pay less tax revenue. He wants to invest it in the stadium, invest it back in the business. We'll see if that comes off. I don't know. We'll see what kind of trade-offs he can find with the mayor of Montreal. But that's where the conversation's coming from. I'm not worried about the long-term viability of the Montreal Impact. Of course, you don't want to lose $11 million a year. That can turn around pretty quickly, though. And it sounds like Saputo has very reasonable, expectations and things he's trying to do to change that trajectory for the club.
And, that's the thing. It's like how is the Quebec provincial government going to act in all of this? How are they going to react to what Joey Saputo wants to do? And I'm trying to figure out, looking at images of Stade Saputo, where the real estate is on that north end. And I think that probably elevating and closing off the north end, if I'm looking at it right,
it's the opposite. Is it opposite of the Olympic Stadium or on the Olympic Stadium side? So it's the other side.
You're sitting in the north end looking at the Olympic Stadium.
Okay. I can picture that that would be to the left of where our broadcast position was. There was a good bit of room around the stadium. I mean, there's definitely room to work with. I don't think there's any issues in getting it done. I think they have a lot of space to work with here. I hope they don't lose the charm of the stadium, because that is such a great little stadium. Out of the smaller MLS venues, it's my favorite. It's not even close. It just has a different feel, and maybe it's just because it's in Montreal. I don't know. It just has a different feel than the other soccer-specific stadiums. I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. Looking forward to going back there this year. And I agree with, I believe it was Riley on Twitter. I think Montreal is going to be a team to watch. I've been saying this for a while. Maybe it's just Nacho Piatti blinding me with his talent, but I feel like they should be a better team than they have been here lately. They were like Toronto last year. Maybe it's a Canadian thing with every center back getting injured. They'd sign a guy, he'd play a game, then he'd get injured. They signed a guy, got injured before the season. If they can find some modicum of health at center back, I think they'll be okay, and we'll get to see what Remy Gard can truly be. I'm thinking Montreal is in the running to host a playoff match. I think they could get as high as 4th in the East.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, things have to fall the right way. And, I mean, I've got Atlanta, obviously, and DC. Then you're looking at Red Bulls as 3. That'd be the top 3. And then 4, Columbus, Montreal, Philadelphia, Toronto, NYCFC. They're all in that grouping, yeah.
I think they can get there. I am intrigued by the Montreal Impact. There's a lot of that in the Eastern Conference, though. You know, It's Atlanta, it's the Red Bulls. DC, I think, is next.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I don't know. NYC, if they get the false 9 thing sorted out. Montreal, if everything comes together, they could be there. I think New England could be fighting for a playoff spot.
Toronto, if they get things sorted out.
Toronto, yeah, they could be. Right now, I'm afraid to say anything like that, so I'm going to stay out of it. Toronto.
That's why I said. That's why I qualified it with the big if.
Yeah, that's a gigantic if in all caps and on a font that doesn't show up on my screen. It's so big. We'll see. The East is going to be a lot of fun, though. I think beyond the top 2 to 3, it's wide open. Anybody can get into those spots. Yes, even Orlando, if somehow things come together. I think it's far less likely for Orlando, but stranger things have happened. Can Orlando finish higher than Cincinnati? That's the question I have in 2019.
No.
Wow, okay. You're already going to go there.
Calling my shot.
Okay. No, I wouldn't be surprised. I think right now on paper, Cincinnati is maybe the better roster.
Yeah.
But I do want to see if Josue Colman makes the jump for Orlando in 2019. I think he has the ability to. I want to see if Mendez is as good as advertised in a box-to-box role. If those two things come off, I think Orlando could be better than Cincinnati. But right now, if I had to take it to the betting window, I would go Cincinnati above Orlando. I would. Sorry, Purple fans. We'll see what happens. Let's take a break. Come back. More of your Tuesday thoughts after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. SDH, hour number 2, putting the finishing touches on the February 5th show. If you're looking for a soccer fix until Atlanta United kicks off and returns home, go to horizontheater.com. You can get tickets to the Wolves. It's at Horizon Theater right now. 9 young women take to the field to answer life's big questions in this Pulitzer Prize finalist. It's a New York Times critic pick as well. We, on Friday, as part of our Friday flashback, will be giving away a couple of tickets to the show. So stay tuned in how you can win those tickets. But go check it out, horizontheater.com. Tomorrow, we'll have the Atlanta United-Tijuana match on atlutd.com/live. Myself and Mike Conti will be calling it to the best of our ability, not knowing how many triple-digit numbers we're going to see from Xolos. Could be very interesting. We have the U20 roster. We have the U17 roster. Although it gets a little tricky because players change numbers when they move up to the first team. I don't think Liga MX allows for the triple-digit numbers in league play, but I think they do in cup play. So it's weird. I mean, it helps in the cup because you see, okay, who's been called up from the youth teams. I love the way, by the way, that they do the youth structure, and I think it's really helped Mexico in player development. The U20s and the U17s, so this past weekend, Xolos is playing Toluca. The senior team, of course, that's the last game of the day. The U20s play before that, and I think it depends on the venues if they're playing in the same venue, like as a kickoff game before, doubleheader, or in some cases a tripleheader with the U17s playing, because the U17s, the U20s, the senior team, all play the same opponent. That's pretty cool. I'd love to see something like that here. And with the talk about MLS teams breaking away from the development academy, I hope they're looking at Mexico and looking at how that goes. I don't know if it's always feasible, and every team with different stadium situations, it might not be realistic to do in that way. I'd love to see it from time to time. It'd be very cool if, Orlando comes up for a game, and, the senior game kicks off at 7:30. It's the big game of the night. But if you want to come in early at, say, 4 o'clock, you can come in and watch the U19s play, the U20s play. You can, if you want to get up early, maybe they do it at the training ground that morning, the U17s play. And it's all in the same weekend. That'd be really cool. I think it's something to look at if you're MLS. It's worked really well for Mexico. I don't know if that same model would work here, but I think it's something to consider as they're trying to figure out what they want to do on the youth side. Speaking of player development, there's a couple really cool stories that wanted to touch on from the lower divisions. One, our friends down at Statesboro, Tormenta, they're doing $1 student tickets across the board for all their matches. Whatever kind of student you are, if you're at Georgia Southern, if you're in high school, if you're in middle school, I believe you just have to have a student ID. You get a $1 ticket for the game. That's awesome. That is such a cool way to build a young fan base and get kids attached to your club. And being in a college town, it's an absolute no-brainer. We'll see how that works with Georgia Southern, if that becomes a huge part of the fan base. It'd be really smart. You just wonder how the financials work down the line, but you're going to expose your product to so many new people to come in for $1. Smart move by Darren Van Tassel and crew.
And we will hear from Darren Van Tassel in a Soccer Down Here 1v1 later this week.
That's called a plug. I like it. Nice work. Greenville FC in the NPSL. Really cool thing they're doing. I love this. The Greenville FC Academy is being launched. It's different. You see so many times that a pro or NPSL, semi-pro club launches an academy, and it looks very traditional. This is not that. The GVL FC Academy is focused on youth 8 to 12 that will train together in an environment that is designed to build the necessary fundamentals in the early stages of a player's career. So it's not about outside competition. It is in-house training, 8 to 12-year-olds supplementing what they're getting at their clubs. It's also during the NPSL season, so you're going to have the players from Greenville FC involved, coaching staff involved, front office involved. It is no charge to participants and their families. It is an effort designed to make soccer accessible to more kids at an early age. It's funded through partnerships with local Greenville businesses and from revenue generated by the club. That's a perfect way to, I think, add on to the soccer community that's already in Greenville. So kids can go participate in this over the summer where your clubs, generally are not playing or training. You're getting extra training in an in-house environment from players who are playing in the NPSL, from coaches who are working in the NPSL. It's kind of a no-brainer because it's not stepping on any toes in the academy world. It's not stepping on any toes in the youth soccer world. It makes a ton of sense. And if you're able to fund it through those partnerships and through the revenue you're generating, it's a perfect way to reinvest in your community. I love that from Greenville FC.
We've also got news out of Richmond when it comes to building the game at the ground level.
Richmond has announced an acquisition of Little Kicks. It will now be the foundation of the Richmond Kickers' nationally renowned player development model. It's an in-school enrichment program held at preschools and child care centers in the Richmond area. So Greenville FC is hitting the 8 to 12-year-olds. Little Kicks and the Richmond Kickers, this is even younger. Lee Calishaw said the Little Kicks program is a valuable community asset that introduces both the beautiful game of soccer and the Kickers brand to the next generation of youth soccer players. We look forward to inspiring Little Kicks participants to enjoy the sport while generating new Kickers fans along the way. I think what's really cool about this one is it was a former Kickers player, Luc Verkelon, who created this program, and other Kickers players, whether former or current pro players, are part of it. So it is as entry-level as it gets to introduce kids to soccer. Another no-brainer to get the Kickers brand out there and to get it into schools, like preschools and child care centers. You're going to have kids grow up with the Kickers brand, which has already been happening in Richmond since 1993. Now it's just an even more focused way to do it. Very cool, completely different ways to engage with young people in your community, whether you're in Richmond, Greenville, Statesboro. I like that they're all unique, and I like that they're all different, and they're all things that I think any club at any level can find aspects of and model in their communities. Very cool to see.
Amy McKenzie's program director, and here's what the Kickers do. Kickers, soccer players, and coaches visit preschools once a week, 30 to 45-minute sessions of instruction drills and games. Parents enroll the kids into the activity, doesn't require any driving, taking away from evenings or weekends. They come to you, and the whole team atmosphere is there during the child's development early years. And Lee also said that it's a unique program that's positively impacted thousands of children over the last decade. So good stuff out of Richmond with Lee and Amy and Luke and the Kickers.
Just awesome to see clubs at all levels find ways that they can give back. And yeah, they have to find a benefit too. I mean, this is something that we worked at Soccer in the Streets in every conversation about partnership. If you are a company like Little Kicks, if you are youth clubs in the Greenville area, you're trying to figure out how to partner with the club in town. But it's got to be a win-win. The club is a business. They have to find a way to benefit. So the branding that they're able to put in front of kids in Little Kicks to introduce them to the kickers. Same with Greenville in their academy. It has to be a win-win. And it's exciting to see more partnerships like this happen that feel that way, because the club has to see a return on the investment in the time to support these types of initiatives. Otherwise, when you're in a situation like Montreal and you're looking at, hey, we're losing $11 million a year. Yeah, we're trying to turn it around on these fronts, but we can't commit to community programming, or we can't commit to these very long-term investment ideas about growing the game in our community. We just don't have the funds to do it. They have to see that there is a return on that investment. Maybe it's not dollar for dollar, and that's fine. I think everybody's realistic about that. But making sure that if you are an outside agency that are going to partner with a club like this, finding that return is very critical. And it's cool to see when it comes off the right way. And I think all of these are good examples that hopefully we'll see more of going forward, especially here in the South with so many clubs at all different levels popping up. There's a lot of different ways to do it. There's a lot of different blueprints you can follow. You can pick and choose. You can look at the menu of different things that clubs have done in the community and pick and choose what works in your community and make it your own. Very cool to see. Let's take a break, come back, wrap everything up on a Tuesday Thoughts edition of the show after this.
Today's show is presented by ATLUTD Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Final segment. Soccer Down here, February 5th. If you have not reserved your tickets for the kit unveiling on February 15th at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, 7 o'clock, it's Friday night, right? This is kind of a big deal.
Yeah. The 15th, yeah.
It's hosted by Roger Bennett of Men in Blazers. This
Heard of
is
him.
a big thing for a kit unveiling.
I know.
What's the crowd going to be like for a kit unveiling at the Benz?
For your reigning MLS Cup champ. First chance to see it. They better. All I'm going to say is that the stores better be stocked.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an open training session. It's a kit unveiling. It's a party.
Yeah.
This is I don't even know what to expect. I have no idea.
I know,
what,
and there's
what
supposed to be an alleged limited number of tickets available, whatever that number is, 72,000.
Yeah.
It's
well, no, I mean, if there's 38,000 season tickets and you can get 2 tickets, now I don't know how that worked out. I think some people were saying that it wasn't per ticket; it was per ticket holder. You could request 2 tickets. So I don't know what the number of season ticket holders is versus season tickets that are sold. That
Right.
part I don't know. But yeah, I mean, this is
11
new
billion
territory.
people.
Yeah,
for a kid unveiling.
At the Benz, and you're bringing in a host for it. This is a big thing. So
This is a big effing deal, I believe is the word.
It could be, yeah. It definitely could be. So reserve your tickets. You just have to reply to a link, I believe, and
Correct.
It's going to be an interesting night. It'll be fun. All right, let's finish everything up on the Tuesday Thoughts edition of the show. Train sent this our way. Dan Quartermanche, Atlanta-born Dan Quartermanche, or at least Atlanta-raised Dan Quartermanche, I think is the fair way to say. Also the VP of Communications for Major League Soccer. He shared this. MLS clubs featured prominently in the second edition of the SoccerX Football Finance 100 report, which ranks the world's 100 most powerful clubs in modern football. 14 MLS clubs in the top 100. That's a big deal. It's the 2019 edition. Don't know where the metrics are coming from. I think Trains might have been looking side-eye at Atlanta being number 50.
Yeah.
And behind quite a few other teams. I am assuming that this is maybe 2017 or 2017-18 kind of numbers. I don't know without digging into the report just yet. I don't know how they're going from it. Atlanta is ranked behind San Jose, Sporting Kansas City, Toronto, NYC, Red Bulls, Colorado Rapids, New England Revolution, Seattle Sounders, LA Galaxy. I am assuming owner and owner's wealth is part of this to see the Revolution and the Rapids so high, even though it doesn't translate to those teams specifically. There's really no other explanation. Owning facilities is part of it, I would assume, just looking at who's on the list. Don't worry about where the ranking is. This is going to change. We know that. I'm pretty sure this is still heavily weighted by 2017. That's just a guess off a glance. So the bigger thing to me is that 14 MLS teams are in the top 100. 14 out of 23 teams are in this top 100 most powerful clubs in modern football. I feel like I need the Sunday guy to do that.
Most powerful teams in modern football.
See, I wasn't going to go there. It's not like, I don't know. It's not roller derby. It's not that kind of voice. But it needs a big thing because that sounds like a big statement.
Trumpet fanfare?
I don't know. How is it truly ranked? I don't know. I'll dig into the report. We'll get into it as we go this week. I wouldn't worry too much about where Atlanta ranks. It'll be okay. I think that'll change a lot down the road.
Next year's numbers at this time, they'll be a little different.
A little different, I would assume. Okay. Jonas Wilson on Twitter. Clubs reaching out to the community is imperative to the growth of the game. 20 years ago, the Silverbacks did some camps at a church I was working, and that was a catalyst of me becoming a soccer fan. There's lots of that. What is great is when you see a strategy behind it. It's one thing, and clubs are generally pretty good about doing this across the board, doing things like this, a one-off, doing an opportunity when they're asked, those sorts of things. When you have a strategy to grow it, it's key. Atlanta United and Soccer in the Streets have a strategy to grow the game in Atlanta public schools, areas where kids don't really have a soccer option nearby, and they're getting to play in school. That's going to develop more soccer fans. Flat out. I mean, MLS marketing, the numbers are there to back it up. Fans who you're far more likely to become a fan of the sport, and this is just on a very broad sense, if you grew up and you played it, if you had a chance to play it. So these types of touchstones, whether it's at a camp, whether it's, in a school program, whether it is an after-school program, exposing kids to playing soccer, they're going to have a far greater likelihood of becoming soccer fans. And then obviously, if it's attached to a brand and they grow up in an Atlanta United program, they have a far greater likelihood to become an Atlanta United fan. These things are very, very important. The numbers back it up. So clubs have to reach out into the community and do it in a very intentional way. That's the thing that's the difference. And I watched it a lot with the Silverbacks back in the day. It wasn't an intentional plan of how to engage the community. It did have benefits. Obviously, Jonas is one of them. He became a soccer fan because of this. It was unintentional, though, in terms of growing the product and growing that brand. It would happen as it happened. What I like is what Richmond's doing, what Greenville's doing, what Atlanta United's doing, what Tormenta's doing, what others are doing, where it is an intentional strategy in the community. It's very cool to see. Need more of it and need to find new ways to do it. I really do believe that the in-school model is going to be such a huge way to go, whether it's after school or actually in school hours in PE classes. I think there's a ton of potential there, and you have a captive audience, and you eliminate some of the things that can be a problem, like transportation and just time on weekends. I think it's critical for clubs to look outside the box and do more in-school or on-school grounds type of programming. I think it's big.
Joe Bost is wondering. I was going to say Joe Bost is wondering, pretty much like Snowman, where the 2-hour 6-minute stoppage time version of SDH is going to be.
You're not getting all that, but you'll get some stoppage time. We're already pretty deep into it. We're
chipping away.
Yeah. Let's put
We're in
that
Fergie
on
time.
Yeah. We're not getting 2 hours. Sorry. Things happen. When things come together to call a preseason game, there's a lot of studying that goes into it, and that's one thing that I've been working on here lately. So lots of stuff. That's why we did not have a live show yesterday. Hopefully our hot drops at least kept you going for a little bit. We appreciate it. I just love that everybody was all worked up about it. I mean, not that I love disappointing you guys, but I love that people were.
You like that they were worked.
We need
you
the
like
show
that they
now.
were worked up, not that they were worked up.
Yes, exactly. I like the concept of being worked up. The actual worked up. Sorry.
It's very humbling.
Sorry. Elamata Flow, thank you for doing the homework. So this is a fun fact. We were talking about Quilmes beer earlier. Cerveza Quilmes was founded in Quilmes, Argentina. Makes sense. The city has a team, Quilmes Atlético Club, which is sponsored by Cerveza Quilmes. So you have a team, Quilmes AC, sponsored by Cerveza Quilmes. It all makes a lot of sense. The club is known as the Cerveceros, the Brewers. Okay, makes sense.
Oh, there you go.
They are currently in the second division, in the Primera B Nacional. They've been in the first division. I think a pretty good bit, actually. They're a little bit of a yo-yo club in Argentina in terms of going back and forth between first and second. And Argentina changes the rules about how the divisions are set up pretty much on a yearly basis, so that happens too. But Quilmes, sponsored by Quilmes, is in the second division right now in Argentina. So there you go. I need the Quilmes kit sponsored by Quilmes.
Yeah, we got to figure out how to get those. Considering that
drink a Quilmes while I'm wearing the kit and watching a Quilmes match.
Didn't the Garlic Bread Warlord figure out how to get a Defensa y Justicia kit as well?
Yeah. Yes, he did. I believe. I'll have to see if I find it. It's something like Argentina Soccer Shop or something. There is a site that has these. I have not ordered from them. I do not know their length of time in getting it to you or how it functions. But if you're looking for obscure Argentine club kits, there is a site out there. We'll blast it out on Twitter here in a bit. Got to go back in the messages from Nick. He was very excited about it because he is now is a Defensa y Justicia fan, and they're tops in Argentina right now.
Nothing wrong with that.
They're the number one team.
And you can get the manufactured logo T-shirts on the eBays.
Yeah, eBay does that. They have like somebody who just prints out T-shirts and they just throw the logo on it. It is probably highly questionable as to how that goes down. But, it's there on eBay if you want to look hard enough.
Yes.
Jim Lepp with a soccer question. TFC, they signed Terrence Boyd. What does that mean for Josie's future? Can they both play together? I think they can. In the 3-5-2, I think they definitely can. I mean, you had Giovinco and Altidore playing together. Boyd's a very different type of player, but if they stick to 3-5-2, they can. If Boyd can play out on the wing in a 4-2-3-1, I think they can. I think they're going to have to go out and get somebody else in addition that is completely separate from the Josie Altidore future question. I don't know if it matters what happens with Josie Altidore's future, to be honest. I don't know if any of these moves have anything to do with that. I don't know if he's coming back. It doesn't sound like he is. He doesn't think he is. I don't know what Toronto's going to do going forward because there's a lot of questions at the moment. They are reportedly bringing in a very big-name attacking player. That's the one that I wonder, what does that mean for Altidore? What does that mean for Boyd? How does it all fit together? I think Boyd is more of the replacement for Toussaint Ricketts, a guy who could play with Altidore at times, but was also a guy off the bench. The big signing that they are reportedly about to do would be the direct replacement for Giovinco, you would think, but we don't know what kind of position we're talking about, and Giovinco is not exactly an easy guy to replicate.
So I've heard.
Nick Alifi chimes in on Montreal. He says, Saputo knows from Bologna that ticket sales are only a part of the team's total revenue. If he's still claiming poverty, it's a damning indictment of their ability to recruit, develop, and sell talent. Well, they did make a lot of money on Balou, who went to Barcelona, so that was a first step in developing talent and moving it on. I think they need to do more of that for sure. I think the numbers are different in Italy, though. Bologna brings in money from TV in Italy, and they're not bringing in, big-time money like some of the bigger clubs in Italy, but they're bringing in more money than the Impact are. It's more of an imperative to sell tickets to affect your bottom line in MLS right now than it is in other leagues around the world because you don't have the TV money coming in the same way. Does that change with the next TV deal? It could. It very well could. And there's a lot of time before that next TV deal kicks in. So teams right now for the next 3 years are thinking in these terms. It is tickets. It is sponsorships. Individual TV deals are good. We see what DC is doing to their bottom line with the Flow Sports deal. Montreal, I don't know what their local deals look like. It's a little different because of TSN, and I don't know if they technically have local deals because of that. I'm not sure how the TSN deal and the money works out with Montreal because, John, you probably know Canada a lot better than I do. Those games are just on TSN, period, right?
Well, TSN and RDS, yeah.
Okay, so they have a French deal that does factor in that is unique to them. That would be the equivalent of their local deal. What I wonder is, how does the TSN money get divided among the Canadian teams versus all the teams in the league? Because it's a national TV deal. And I don't know if MLS looks at it or how they look at it. Because you have ESPN and Fox money and Univision money that goes into the league on a national basis in the United States. TSN would be doing the same in Canada. They show the Canadian teams' matches. And I believe they show every one on the different TSN networks because they have how many? 2 or 3?
Well, TSN networks themselves, I think, go up as high as 6, but TSN and TSN2 traditionally are where the English language broadcasts go, and
but they're all
RDS,
going. The difference, and this is what I'm trying to stress when it comes to comparing them, is it's not ESPN doesn't carry every Cincinnati game. TSN carries every Montreal Impact game in English, and every Vancouver game, and every Toronto game. They're on a TSN channel, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of in between a local TV deal and a national TV deal. So we don't know how the TSN money gets divided up. We don't know what kind of money it is. But it's not like Bologna, I would assume, in terms of TV money. So the tickets are a little more important in Montreal. That would be the one difference I would say to Nick, is currently they have a more important part of it. But I agree, and this is across the board in MLS. Recruiting, developing and selling talent needs to be a bigger part of the overall revenue stream. I think it will be, because I think the Atlanta United deal with Newcastle and Miguel Almiron turned a lot of heads to that. I think the Alphonso Davies deal also turned a lot of heads to this. This is a big revenue stream that MLS generally has not been involved in since day one. It needs to be now to continue to grow it while tickets grow, while TV revenues grow. This is something that you can directly affect with the long term of your academy investment, but also the short term of signing, promising up and coming players. And it sounds like Saputo's on board with it. He's not going to go down the Drogba road. I think he's going to go far further down this kind of road where he's signing a young player to sell on down the road for them. You're not going to see a Drogba. I don't know if you'll see as many Nacho Piattis come in unless it is to put on top of a Jason Vargas, who it looks like is being loaned out, which is kind of weird, and players like that. Because Montreal, if they're going to spend the type of salary that they are, they could go to Argentina and get top players and bring them to Montreal and then move them on to Serie A because of Saputo's connections. You would think because of the language connections to Ligue 1 as well would be another potential landing spot for Montreal players. Feels like they could be doing more than that, and it feels like maybe the strategic plan is going to point them in that direction a little bit more.
And last year, the deal was tweaked a little bit after the old MLS deal with the Canadian rights holders ended in 2017. Last year, it was a combination of TSN and CTV for English and TVA for French.
Okay. So, yeah, it's a little bit different setup. I wonder how the money looks and how it's divided up since it's kind of a hybrid national/local deal. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see. So Thomas Jewin is telling me that I was incorrect before on going to the Roomba Cafe, and I will fight you, Thomas, on this till I die, because you did not have the Roomba Cafe, sir, and you did not have the choripan or what was the other one they had? That was everything they had was amazing, but they had the barbecue plate, like basically all the different parts of the animal and the meat, and it was amazing, and it was very good. And I will fight you about the Roomba Cafe, Thomas, but I will take your recommendation under advisement. It says the correct Latin food in D.C. is Peruvian pollo la brasas, and there's a great place called Las Brasas in Decatur that I really like, so I will be checking this out. El Pollo Rico is a very good option in D.C. There are many others. All right, El Pollo Rico is on the list for maybe pregame March 3rd in D.C. Maybe that's lunch. We'll have to see. That's a good idea. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it. But I'm going to fight you about the Roomba Cafe. That was very correct, sir. Michael Ruiz. Is it me or is Atlanta United playing 10D chess? I like that. Pity, and the rest of the league is playing tiddlywinks with these most recent signings. Mitria, Sam Johnson at Real Salt Lake, Terrence Boyd, etc. The Terrence Boyd one I'm going to leave off to the side because that's a different kind of deal. It's not a designated player deal. He's not coming in to be a focal point. He is coming in to be fighting for playing time /reserve. So it's a different conversation. Johnson's a designated player. Mitria is a designated player. Mitria is a very expensive designated player, first off. Johnson, don't know the numbers on him, but Real Salt Lake, forward Liberian who is coming in from the Norwegian League, Vålerenga, 66 goals in 162 league matches since 2011. He started his professional career in Liberia before going to Sweden. 69 goals in 180 matches across all competitions. Players coming over from Scandinavia have not exactly gone well in recent years. We've talked a lot about it.
Minnesota.
Yeah, I'll see San Jose Earthquakes last year too, and we don't have Jarrett Smith to talk trash to right now. It's very sad. But it is a definite question because signing players for $8.5 million from the Romanian league, signing designated players from the Norwegian league, it feels a little different than what we've seen work here in Atlanta with your Pity Martinez's, your Miguel Almirons, your Joseph Martinez's, your Ezequiel Barcos, your Tito Villalbas, and such. I think it's a no-brainer to cultivate relationships and scout and sign players from South America. I think the transition from South American leagues to MLS is far easier. I think the market is far better for investment. You're going to get a return on your investment there. It just feels like a no-brainer to me. It feels like a bigger change for a Romanian player who has been playing in Romania to come to Major League Soccer. It feels like a bigger change for a Liberian player who has been playing in Scandinavia to come to Major League Soccer and adjust than for a South American player to come to Major League Soccer and adjust. And it feels like from a market perspective, and we've talked a lot about Argentina, but if you look at players from Ecuador, from Paraguay, from Venezuela, from every country in South America, maybe outside of Colombia and Brazil, because those markets are a little different and it takes a little bit more money to bring those players in because of the market. You might not get as big of a return. I think it's a much safer way to build your team. It's not even like Tindy Chess versus Tiddlywinks. It's just smart business. I'm going to feel better about my $8.5 million investment bringing in a player from the Argentine Superliga than the Romanian First Division. I just think it's a better investment to spend that money there.
No, I'm completely down with that. And you're also getting folks chiming in about your restaurant choices. So I'm more confident, honestly, about dealing with things on this side of the ocean than remote leagues that I really have never heard of the talent pool and overspending to bring those players in.
But that's the thing is you kind of have to know about these leagues now.
Yeah.
I just think it's harder to know more about the Romanian league and the Scandinavian leagues than it is about the leagues in our hemisphere to the south.
Agreed. Yes. I'm completely down with that.
I'm baffled. Chandler Creel has an opportunity to possibly have some choripan. I did not know there was an Argentine restaurant in Athens. It's in the Bottle Works for our Athens folks on Prince Avenue. I know that area very well. Viva. It's called Viva. It's Argentine cuisine. Very cool. I'm going to have to check that out next time I'm in Athens. But yes, Chandler, he sent a link to the menu. The Argentine sausage, as it is described on the menu. Because I think this is a really cool thing they're doing. They are trying to make Argentine cuisine very easy for people to get into here. So they call it the Argentine sausage. It sounds like a choripan to me. Grilled local all-natural pork sausage with imported Argentine spices, topped with chimichurri, served on French bread. Done. The sandwich is choripan. There you go, Chandler. You can have a choripan tonight at Viva. Man, I need to go to Viva. I need to go to Athens. All right. Done. Andrew Baker says, it sounds like you did a lot of research trying to track down that beer based on knowing that no distributors sell it in Atlanta. Yeah, I was baffled. I couldn't figure it out why it was in D.C. and why it wasn't in Georgia, and tried to look up the different distributors and what they distributed. And I don't know where Cerveza Quilmes fits into the overall global structure of beer, because they're all kind of coming together now as your big companies buy up a lot of these. But yeah, it's just not distributed. So I don't know where the closest place to get Quilmes is to Atlanta. But
Bandit, I know you got to make a run. That's all that matters.
I don't have time, and I don't have a truck, and I don't have a dog. Well, Gwen would not work as Fred. That would not work at all. Gwen's way too high strung. So yeah, I don't have any of the right materials here. I don't know if I would be Bandit or if I would be driving the truck. I don't know. That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of complications.
Well, going back to our Nashville reference, you are Bandit and Jimmy Vance is Snowman, but
we weren't smuggling beer. Don't get it twisted. We were just going to do a afternoon show that day. That was all.
That's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that when you go to D.C., you find some Quilmes and then you bring it back with you.
It's not as simple just to bring it back. You don't seem to understand this. You can't just buy a case of beer and put it in your luggage. It's
FedEx it to yourself.
You can't send beer across state lines. I don't think.
Oh, I was not aware of this.
Yeah, you can't send alcoholic beverages across state lines. I think I think there's some ways you can do it. I think that's starting to change. So if anybody is up on sending beer across state lines, let me know, while we're crowdsourcing everything on today's show.
Of course.
Yeah, I know there are some restrictions on it. So it's not that simple. That's why Bandit had to do what Bandit did. And I don't have the materials to be Bandit or drive an 18-wheeler. So not happening. Thoughts on FXE Football releasing renderings of a $100 million remake of Lockhart Stadium. This is a potential USL franchise? Okay, I'm confused.
That'd be my guess. What I think, and I think
not
that this
currently
is extrapolation.
A USL. Okay, there's not currently a USL franchise. It can't be the Strikers because they're owned by. The brand is owned by somebody, either the Rowdies or Bill Edwards.
Yeah.
The USL franchise, according to Brittany Wallman on Twitter, who is a reporter for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, the USL franchise hopes to win the site away from David Beckham's Inter Miami.
Oh.
But I don't think they have a USL franchise unless they have one that is not approved yet or not known about yet. I'm very intrigued. I don't know.
That's the only thing I can think of is option B, because this is the first that I've heard of anything USL based in Fort Lauderdale.
I do not know. I am not sure. Okay, we have fighting on the timeline now about South American restaurants. Percy Herrera, I knew Percy Herrera was going to fight me. Percy, I'll fight people for you if they say that Las Brasas isn't the most amazing Peruvian restaurant. First round's on me, fellas. Honorable mention, La Brasa Rustica in Johns Creek. I did not know about that one. I think Conti has a Peruvian place near him as well. Not Contigo, Peru. I think he has a pollo place near him. I can't remember what it is. But Las Brasas is the one that I have been to quite frequently, and it's been far too long since I've been there, and it is amazing food. I highly recommend Las Brasas in Decatur. Okay, Percy, we can be on the same side. We can fight people together in that one. That's good. I was a little worried that Percy was going to take his opportunity to fight me. I was scared.
Yes.
Okay.
I think
so.
Yeah.
We have eBay links.
Show, isn't it?
Well, there's probably more. And remember, we have to do 2 hours according to some for stoppage time.
2:06.
Let's see. So El Mataflow linked to a Quilmes jersey search on eBay that results in some Boca Juniors kits when they were sponsored by Quilmes, but also a Atletico Club Quilmes Lotto
we need a Quilmes.
jersey.
Quilmes is what we're looking for.
$40. It's a Quilmes kit sponsored by Quilmes. They did wear Lotto back in the day. This is a 2008 kit. There's another one. I don't know what year it is. Yeah, okay. Thanks, Mataflow. I'll be checking that out. But see, Quilmes also sponsored River Plate, which is crazy because they sponsored River, they sponsored Boca, they sponsor everything because they're that big. The River,
but see, you got to play both sides there. You can't take one
weird.
over the other in a rivalry. You know that.
Quilmes as a beer probably can. It's that big in Argentina. It is really that big. I don't think you could pull that here, even if not on the beer side, if you didn't have, Budweiser, okay? I think Budweiser would, I don't think there'd be a problem if Budweiser sponsored the Red Bulls except for Red Bull, just theoretically. Play along. If they sponsored the Red Bulls and NYC, or if they sponsored the Galaxy and LAFC. I don't think it would be an issue for people. Now, if Coca-Cola was involved with Atlanta, and then Pepsi was involved, then that could be a problem, as you saw during all of the Super Bowl advertising all around town with Pepsi everywhere. That was weird. Pepsi on the Atlanta kit would be weird.
Them's fighting words, dude.
I think so. I would. I'm in that boat. I'm not a Pepsi fan at all. You drink Mountain Dew, so I don't know how much you can talk about this.
Well, I'm saying that I know that would be fighting words if Pepsi came in and sponsored a kit in the South. I just know it's fighting words.
Well, not in the whole South. I mean, Pepsi does have some strongholds around the South. They do. They have, distribution sites and bottling plants and stuff where they have some local pull, and that does happen. But in general, I would agree with you. But where do you fall in this? Because you drink Mountain Dew. Now, Mountain Dew's in a different category. It's not like you're picking Pepsi over Coke. Mountain Dew, what would that be competitive with in the Coke arsenal? Is that Mellow Yellow?
Yeah, it would be.
And Mellow Yellow disappeared for a while. I think it's kind of around, but not.
It is, and they're catering to the Moto Gen X high speed crowd.
Because they
did, and then they rebranded their bottling and their approach, but they're mainly into motorsports and like the hot rods and motocross. That's their dynamic, and X Games.
How does it taste though compared to Mountain Dew?
It's far more tart. I think it's sucrose fructose as opposed to sugar.
Okay.
And it basically gives me a headache.
All right. So you can't do the Mellow Yellow, but if you had to choose between Pepsi or Coke, what do you choose?
I refuse to answer that question on the grounds that I may incriminate myself in the Southeast.
Wow, you just did.
When they changed their formula from sugar to sucrose fructose, it gave it more of a bite, and I can't handle that.
That's very technical. But now where do you feel Dr. Pepper fits into all this? Because they're kind of the odd one that,
they're third man in.
Depending on where they are, they get distributed by Pepsi sometimes, they get distributed by Coke sometimes. They can play both sides.
They're more of a Southwest thing. I think they're more Arklatex and Texas in that way than anything else. I think that's where their foothold is.
I love some Dr. Pepper though. I'm a Coke guy. I'm a Coke guy first off, but Dr. Pepper's really good. I feel like that's okay. They're unique. The Cola Wars podcast will happen at some point.
Yeah. You've got Dr. Pepper, you've got RC Cola. All RC does is make me belch.
That's gross. RC Cola is gross. Sorry for anybody who loves RC Cola, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah, when Coke changed their formula, it turned me off. Bottom line.
Okay.
I can't handle drinks that have bite to them. That's just how I'm wired.
Moving on from bite in soft drinks to proper pronunciation.
From soda down here?
Yes, we're moving on from soda down here to pronunciation down here. The Colonel shares we can call out UCLA media. Thank you. Good. Anderson, in his intro video, it sounds far more like a Sayadu than a Sadu, which is how UCLA had it listed. Thomas Jawin says, I think it's 3 syllables, diphthong in the middle syllable, a Sayadu or possibly I don't know the difference. A Sayadu? A Sayadu?
A Sayadu
or a Sayadu.
I just call him Double A the Enforcer. That's all I do.
Well, we're going to have to dig a little deeper, although I do like that nickname. That could work.
Double A.
But,
he's not one to toot his own horn, but toot.
Yeah, Double A. We get Arne Anderson talking about him. That could be really cool. But, yeah, we need to figure this out. Is it a Sayadu? Is it a Sayadu? Is it a Siadu? Or a Siadu? It's a lot of stuff. We'll figure it out, I promise. But it's very complicated.
Yes.
Because UCLA put us down the wrong direction, I think.
Damn you, Bruins.
I'm blaming you, UCLA.
Pac-12-ness.
Yeah, it's definitely a Pac-12 thing.
See, but that's why I just stick to Double A the Enforcer. That's what I've just adopted.
Yeah, I mean, but we can't do that. So we need to figure out proper pronunciation. No, I can't call him Double A all the time because people will be like, what in the world is wrong with you? It can't be that homer of a call.
Yes, but we do have to figure out what his mom says. So bottom line, we got to figure out a Sayadu, a Siadu, or a Sidu.
I don't think it's the middle one. That sounded really weird. But I don't know. We'll figure it out. We will get to the bottom of this, people. We promise. I don't think it'll be the Villalba controversy that we had. I don't think it'll be that. I think we'll get to the bottom of it much sooner.
Yes.
Trains. I want to hear about Toronto getting wrecked by Las Vegas Lights. Are they really going to be okay for CONCACAF Champions League?
Winalda in the light.
Eric Winalda demolished Toronto. His Las Vegas Lights won 5-1. I will say, are they going to be okay for CONCACAF Champions League is a different conversation than the 5-1 result. The 5-1 is concerning. It's preseason. You're looking to get different things out of it. Toronto should be running faster on the ground than losing 5-1 to a USL team at this stage, though, with CONCACAF Champions League around the corner. I don't think they're going to be okay for CONCACAF Champions League because I don't think they're okay in general as they are currently constructed. Something's not right. You don't have two players say that the club's not committed to winning in statements. One of them's still on the roster and still training, and I don't know, maybe you're going to figure out a way to deal with Gregory Vanderveel where he stays. The other is in Saudi Arabia now. That concerns me. Something's wrong with Toronto. I don't think they're going to be okay for CONCACAF Champions League. I think they can still get through the round of 16 because they have Independiente from Panama, if I'm not mistaken. Team first time in the tournament. They should be okay there. Doesn't mean they're going to be okay in general. But we have to wait and see who this big money signing is going to be. Maybe things can get fixed. I have some serious concerns about Toronto in the 2019 season, though, and honestly beyond, because you have questions about Altidore, you have questions about Bradley, who's coming in new, is Greg Vanny on the hot seat? Is Ali Curtis stepping into a hot seat?
Yes.
How's ownership going to deal with all of it? Toronto, we talked about the NBA MLS combinations and comparisons. Toronto is in a weird spot in the Toronto market right now where the Raptors have come out of nowhere to be the hot ticket. Now, will that continue? Maybe depends on if Kawhi Leonard decides to stay. But the Blue Jays are always huge. The Maple Leafs could be huge if they would ever win. The Argonauts are a bigger deal in Toronto maybe than other CFL markets.
If they're competitive, and in recent years they haven't been.
So Toronto's a very front-running kind of town is what you're telling me.
Correct. Yes.
So if Toronto FC is not front-running, and right now you would question their ability to run out front.
Yes.
Things could be a little different for Toronto as they've been recently because they've done really well and they've been getting a lot of attention and they've drawn really well and things have been good.
Seats still available.
If they don't win. That's not has not been the case currently. They have been selling all the good seats and all of the seats, period. If they're not winning, things could change quickly is what you're telling me based off Toronto.
Especially, and combine that with the planned expansion of BMO Field right now. It could go off. I mean, it could be.
Whew. But how fast can it come back? That's the thing. Is you can't. Adding seats to a stadium takes time. So you can't wait until we just did good. Okay, we're going to add 10,000 seats tomorrow. So this is a process, and they've been at the stage where, they needed to add more seats. They're adding more seats because of the World Cup coming up as well. So this is a long-term thing that is slightly unrelated. But
this is all MLSE, and how do they want to apportion
I'm asking
all of their stuff?
I'm not talking about that. I'm asking more from a Toronto fan base perspective. They've had 2 great years followed by a bad year, but started out really good with CONCACAF Champions League. So last year was kind of a weird year in Toronto because early in the season it was very exciting. Everything's great. Then it fizzled out as the year went on. You had some just bad luck that factored in. But now you're at a stage where, you're coming off of a bad second half to the year where there's nothing to be excited about. If 2019 is a bad year for Toronto and say they don't make the playoffs, or say they make the playoffs and get knocked out in round 1 in a playoff loss on the road, Do you worry about what the attendance looks like late in the season?
Yes.
Okay, so it's that fickle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because not every market is, and you're saying that Toronto is.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Blue Jays aren't competitive. People don't go to Skydome or whoever sponsors it now.
Who owns Toronto from a sports perspective? Like, what team is the team? Is Toronto's team? Because here it's the Falcons.
Maple Leafs.
It's the Maple Leafs. So
good or bad,
they own it. It's even better when they're good.
Uh-huh.
But it's their town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because, like, L.A. is a Lakers town. I mean, that was all the talk coming into the Super Bowl. Was nobody's talking about the Rams. Everybody's talking about Anthony Davis to L.A., maybe.
Correct.
The Lakers drive things in Los Angeles.
Yep.
Here,
Austin Matthews and
the
everything
Falcons
with the
drive
Maple
things.
Leafs.
Toronto, the hockey team, drives it. Okay. Just curious. That stuff's really interesting to me when you start talking about the business side on a big scale. Josh Eisenberg had a question earlier. Hypothetically, what would have happened if Nashville had signed Andrew Gutman before being awarded a franchise? Hypothetically,
Chicago still would have found a way to kvetch.
No, they couldn't. No, they couldn't have. They couldn't have this year. It would have been a different conversation because, one, it wouldn't have been a loan. It would have been they would have signed Gutman to a USL contract, which there wouldn't have been anything to talk about. I still think it's a stretch for the way things are going down, but I get MLS's ruling on it. I think Chicago looks really bad in it. But in Josh's scenario, if Nashville had signed him outright, they could have signed him to a USL contract that would have had nothing to do with MLS. They could have done that. And before being awarded a franchise, and they absolutely could have done that. Now, then they would have had no claims to him from moving up to MLS. They would have still had to worry about his homegrown rights in Chicago because Chicago made him an offer. But, I think if they had signed him hypothetically before being awarded a franchise, it wouldn't have been a thing. If they'd even signed him flat out to a USL contract, I don't think there could have been anything to do with it here. Although that gets into a gray area because it's similar to the loan and it's weird. I don't know. If before they awarded a franchise, they would have signed him to a USL deal. There would have been nothing to it, Josh. But they wouldn't have had his MLS rights once they were awarded a franchise and then started talking and acting like an MLS club. So that's the difference here is they are in the runway to MLS, and it changes the way they have to function and the way MLS rights function. All right,
I'm sure that Nelson Rodriguez would have found a way to complain.
Well, probably, but it wouldn't. It would have been a different complaint, and he would have already been playing in USL before they were awarded a franchise. So, it would have been a different conversation altogether. I think that would have. I don't think they would have had the claim over it. If you're interested in the South American Sudamericano Sub-20, the U20 championships that are going on, 5 players to watch from El Mata Flow: Diego Palacios, Bruno Mendez, Andres Palanta, Samuel Sosa, Nehuen Perez. Perez is starting to get some buzz, I've heard a little bit about. I have not had a chance to watch any of the tournament as of yet, Mata Flow. I'm going to take your 5 players, and I'm going to look at them and see where they could end up. And I hope MLS clubs are scouting this competition because it would be a no-brainer for anybody. I think if you're in MLS looking at players of that age in South America, kind of perfect.
Well, it's kind of worked in Atlanta.
Yeah. No, I mean, it has, but that doesn't mean every MLS team is doing this. So hopefully they will. All right, final ones before we go. Andrew Baker, Alphonso Davies has been added to Bayern's Champions League roster for the knockout rounds. No shock there. Not with his initial introduction. Jawin adds La Brasa Rustica to his places to try the freaking Incan. That was the one I was trying to think of in Tucker. That's the one close to Conti. There's one in Roswell as well. Good for street food, like lomo saltado, which I do like. They don't have pollo la brasa, so it is a little different. There is a new apollo or a pollo in Roswell, depending on pronunciation. Haven't heard reviews. So if anybody's been to apollo or a pollo in Roswell, let Thomas Jawin know about it. Let all of us know about it, because we are trying to add the Peruvian food to our potential restaurant options here in the metro area. So that's a new one we have to add to the list. Sherbs with a good one to follow up on the Double A nickname and going in a different direction altogether. Double A, the battery we need to charge the midfield. I like it because it works if you are a wrestling fan, an Arn Anderson fan, or a non-wrestling fan, and you just get Double A batteries. I like it. Good work, Sherbs. And you've lost Joe Bost. You've completely lost Joe Bost, John.
Yeah?
Dead to
How you
him.
figure?
Coke is better, and everyone knows it. Joe is horrified by you.
My taste buds just can't handle tartness. That's the bottom line.
All right. Just saying.
It's just, like I said, you change your formula and you lose me.
All right. Well, maybe Coke will find a way to change it back for you. I think what you need to drink is the Mexican Coke, the bottled Coke.
I have.
Oh, you don't like that either? I thought that was with the cane sugar.
And I like it because it's sweeter, but it's harder to access. It's kind of like your Quilmes.
No. It's everywhere now. Like, everybody has it. Pretty much every gas station has it. Now, you need to have a way to open the bottle, but, other than that, you're good. That's not that hard. It's not that
Who are we
hard.
talking about here?
It's called a keychain. It's not that hard. I'll
think
get
we
you
have
a bottle opening keychain.
Oh, yeah. Well, are we going to make SDH bottle keychains this year?
Maybe. So you can drink the good bottled Coke, which most people call the Mexican Coke. We can we can make Soccer Down Here keychains that are bottle openers, so you can drink good Coca-Cola and not run foul of the fan base.
But I really don't drink a lot of Pepsi, though. That's my whole point.
You just go Mountain Dew completely off the rails.
Yeah. But you can't drink the red because that's like Vicks Formula 44M, and it's very counterproductive.
The Code Red?
That's just awful.
It's not that bad, but I wouldn't recommend it on a regular basis. I think it could be dangerous.
The
in
Ice
large
Blast, funky,
I haven't tried any of the weird ones. It's green to begin with.
Don't know, but it's like the minty fresh green, like the wintergreen looking thing.
Does it taste like wintergreen Mountain Dew?
It's just I can't even get their own premise.
Fathom that. Okay, I'm really confused.
It's like the Ice Blast Gatorade.
That's not that bad.
It's just no. You're stepping on Superman's cape by doing all this kind of stuff. The purple, no. The wintergreen, no. The red, Lord, no.
The only one I've tried of those is the red, and it's fine. I wouldn't drink much of it, but it's fine. John is a Mountain Dew traditionalist
for that one because that's just not happening.
Wow. Okay. All right. John will fight you about Mountain Dew. I'll fight you about Roomba Cafe, and we're going to take a break for a couple of days. We'll have some form of a show on the SDH app and network tomorrow, but it will be a road version with myself and Mike Conti at some point. It probably won't be a
Crosby,
full 2-hour
Bob Hope
edition.
Road movie.
Yeah, it'll be a road movie or road radio show because it won't be a movie because that won't happen. But we'll have that for you at some point tomorrow, roughly in the 11 to 1 o'clock time frame, somewhere in there. We'll chat with you for a bit on the road, and then you can watch the Tijuana Atlanta United preseason match. 120 minutes, 4 30-minute quarters. You can watch that at atlutd.com/live, presented by AT&T. Thank you, AT&T. I'm excited to get a chance to do it. So you can listen to us then. You can also watch Stoppage Time this afternoon, 2 o'clock, facebook.com/929thegame. And I'll catch my breath at some point. We'll be back to a normal schedule on Thursday. So
January.
Yeah, well, we passed January, so
late December. That's what I'm saying. Just late December.
Well, the season
January.
ends earlier this year. The season ends earlier this year, so it'll be a little bit different type of format. So maybe once we get it at the end of an MLS Cup run again in early November, depending on World Club Cup participation, maybe that'll be it. But anyway, stoppage time later. We'll be back with a normal show on Thursday. We'll have something for you tomorrow. Mucho platio.
Mucho cumpleaños, y'all.